Hello, everybody. Happy St. Patrick's Day!
Hey,
Yes,
we're laughing
sir.
already.
Hello. Oh, I just got a message here. Loud microphone level. Hey, that's the way it is, huh? Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Hello, 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 and welcome
Hello.
to the finale, the grand finale of Takeo After Dark, the Winter Essentials. John Barba here with Dave Holdorf and Rick Mayo. And before we get started, I just want to let everybody know two things. Today, I was wrong on Monday. Today is my 14th anniversary of coming to work for Takeo.
Okay.
Today it was. I knew it was right around there, but then LinkedIn, I started getting all these messages on LinkedIn today. Happy anniversary. Anniversary for what? It was this is my 14th anniversary at Takeo. So cheers to Takeo and thank you for a wonderful ride. And the other thing I have to inform everybody out there, the two gentlemen that I'm sharing the screen with have been awarded the Takeo Training of Excellence for 2020 award. We had a corporate award ceremony earlier this afternoon, and we were giving out superlatives for performance for 2020. And I just want to congratulate Rick and Dave for an outstanding year of training. And these guys have done an awesome job, as you all well know. These guys have really been terrific. So we're a round of applause for the guys, everybody. I have to give you a virtual round of applause. So congrats there. In addition, we have a big night tonight where Mr. Johnny White is going to be with us, who's joined us already. How you doing there, boss? John Hazen White Jr., the owner and president of Takeo Comfort Solutions. How are you, sir?
I'm great. I think Cheryl's going to join us too, right?
Yep, Cheryl will be joining us as well. This is awesome. This is
It'll be
awesome.
the dynamic duo.
That's it. That's it. You guys are going to have the opportunity tonight to basically, if you've ever wanted to ask a question of the owner and CEO, which Cheryl Merchant, the CEO, will also be on later as well. The owner and CEO of a major manufacturer in our industry, ask them whatever you want, right? Nothing's out of bounds, right, John?
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Maybe something. I don't know.
We'll see. Hey, after an hour of green beer, who knows, right?
Yeah, right.
But
yeah, with this crew, you never know what you're going to get out of this crew. Yeah,
that's true, or when, for that matter. But it's going to be very exciting. I know Johnny and Cheryl have been really looking forward to being part of this tonight, and mixing with you guys. It's a very special opportunity, and I'm really looking forward to it. The other thing we're looking forward to tonight is Dave is going to share with us all of the tips and tricks that you guys have sent in over the past several weeks. And we're going to have a poll at the end, and Dave will walk you through that. So you get to decide on your favorite, and whoever wins the favorite is going to get that fabulous prize package with the Yeti cooler and the Carhartt bag and all the really cool snazzy stuff that Dave's been sitting on for the past 6 weeks, just teasing us with. So that's going to go out tonight as well.
I don't know if I want to give it up. I just enjoy looking at it over here too.
I'm sorry, Dave. You're going to. I'll send you a styrofoam cooler to replace it. How's that? All right. And with that, I'm going to just shut up for a bit. I know everybody's going to rejoice and turn it over to Mr. Holdorf. Let's take this show away, my friend.
Excellente. I am glad to do that. So welcome, everybody. Greatly appreciate you all coming and hanging out with us tonight. It's going to be a great evening. I do want to say thank you to everybody that has submitted something, that has sent in some information for me to use, their tips, their tricks. And somebody was actually said something about, you know what, never learn tips and tricks, always learn the trade. And I agree with that. But this is a pay it forward, you know, what has made your life easier in the industry? So is what I'm trying to really pass along. You know, what have you learned in the basement, or what did somebody teach you in the basement of somebody's project? So that's what I really wanted to do with this class more than anything. And rather than just listening to us, what did you guys get out there in the field? So, you know, I know John and Rick have been out of the basements for quite a few years. Same with myself. You know, not spending a lot of time in basements any longer and things like that. So that's the goal of this class. And again, I'm going to say thanks to everybody that submitted. I got tons that came in. I just couldn't put everything in. But if you did submit and you don't see your name tonight, you will still get some sort of package from me. So greatly, again, appreciate all of that went into it and all the work that you guys all did too. So with that being said, couple things. I know we may have a bunch of new people out there. So in case you haven't used GoToWebinar before, just to remember, just a little review, take a look at it. If you do not see this control panel as you see it here, click on this orange arrow. If it is pointing to the left, you're going to click on it and it will expand out. And you're going to see your audio section. So if your sound is not proper, you can go and set it up here so you can hear it properly. If there are handouts, and we have a couple of handouts there, please take a look and download. We have our catalog up there, so take a look there. And to communicate with us, to ask questions, to answer questions, to any comments whatsoever, you'll see the questions chat bar area. It may look like a question mark to you, depending upon which application, which way you're logged in. Taking a look at us tonight, it's going to look a little different to you all. But that's where you're going to communicate. So as I've already seen a few people typing in, so just to make sure, and I'm going to ask periodically during the night to type something in there. Say a hi, hello, how are you? Just so we all know the technology's working. What color is the sky by you? Things like that. It's just so I know the tech doesn't go out, because it has happened before where John and I are talking to ourselves and Rick's talking to ourselves. So we need to get that, make sure that you guys are all still there. So excellent, Bill. Thank you. Thanks, Bob. Hey, thanks, Dave. Dwight, J3, good to see you. Rich, all right. All right, awesome. Glad to hear it. And if you guys are on a device, if you're using an iPad or your phone, take a look at the bottom of the screen and you will see your screen that's going to be there. And you can toggle back and forth between looking at the presentation and or looking at the cameras of the three of us. You'll also see your audio settings. You'll see an attendees button, but it's not going to do anything for you there. That's not enabled. And then that's where you're going to answer and ask any questions out in that way. So you'll have to toggle between the screens when you want to answer questions or ask questions, things like that. So, so that is it. That is it on using GoToWebinar. Glad you're here. Thanks so much for the St. Patty's Day extravaganza and paying it forward. All right, and there you can see the pile of stuff that I have in the garage and the basement and behind me that we want to give away tonight. And again, for those of you that are just logging in, maybe you're not sure how we're going to do this. Right at the very end, there's going to be a couple of polls that pop up, and you're going to find your favorite one. And whoever gets the most amount of votes is going to win the pile of stuff behind me. Everybody that submitted something, like I said, is getting something from me. So, but then the big grand prize is at the end of class, and you'll see it at the end. So, let's go to the first one, shall we?
Let's do it.
This one came in immediately as we announced it. I think in class number 2, and David Coulombe said, "Read the free manual." All right.
Did he say free?
Yeah. What's that?
Did he say free?
I don't know if he said free. He just said read. This is actually his words here. For the love that is almighty, read the manuals at least once. At least once. All right. Now, it doesn't have to be on the really technical stuff that's out there too. You want to make sure even something as simple as say a pro press fitting, for example, take a look at it first. Just so you have some sort of understanding. A couple of jobs ago, I wrote some technical manuals for our industry for some new controls that I was developing. And man, it takes a lot of time to try to put in as much information as possible that you're looking for. All right. It is not an easy task. So you want to thank the people that write some of those things. I'm so glad I don't do it anymore. I do work with the guys that do it. But at least, read it at least once. So as David said, it was the best tip he ever learned over the years. So I love that picture. I'm sure there's a few that will get it, maybe a few that won't, from what movie that is. So I think JB, right?
I think so, yes. That would be
okay.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers with Donald Sutherland.
Yeah.
The remake.
I was a kid when I watched that one, man. That spooked the heck out of me. So I think I was like 7, 8 years old when that came out. So, so that's number one from David. So again, thanks, Dave, for handing that one in. I did have a couple other people that also submitted that too, but David was one of the first ones. So I have to give the credit to Dave there. So awesome. Continue on. So this one was really interesting from a friend of mine out in Pennsylvania, Rich Baran. And he's talking about troubleshooting, and he's a service manager at his company, and he talks to his tech, tells his techs this story about this mathematician, Abraham Wald, and his job, he got hired by the Navy to analyze airplanes that came back in World War II, that came back and landed on the carriers, and to analyze, his job was to figure out where to put armor on the airplanes. So all the airplanes that came back, and they recorded all the bullet holes that ended up in the airplane, and they saw all these holes all over the plane. So the Navy right away said, oh, well, that's where we need to put more armor. We got to put more armor into the wings and into the fuselage. And Abraham took a look at it and said, no, those are the ones that made it back. What we need to analyze are the ones that didn't make it back. So of course, when we take a look at it, you got to think about troubleshooting and not, and this is from Rich. He said, troubleshooting is a mindset. If you focus on the obvious, you may diagnose incorrectly. So Abraham said, no, we need to put armor around the engines and where the people are in the plane, where the pilot is, all right, and anybody in the back, that can control it. So that's where we need to put the armor, because those aren't the planes that came back. So when you're troubleshooting a job site, you can't just look at it from component wise. You need to look at it from a system approach, all right, and what's going on. And I know we get that all the time. Hey, I pulled out a pump, I put another one back in, it's doing the same thing. What's wrong with your pumps? All right. That's not necessarily it. What's going on in the system? We got to take a look at the system. And yes, so I thought this was excellent from Rich. So greatly thank you, Rich, for sharing that with us. Very, very good example. I liked it. I really did like that. So Boiler Crew. All right, some of my boys from Instagram. All right, Bob, I know he's here tonight. I think I saw him here. So he puts in here, putting in flanges, putting in circulated flanges, all right, and circulators at the same time. And the big thing he was saying is use the square rounds that come with it, man. All right, we designed those on purpose. Do not use the red flat gaskets. Those are not designed for our 00 series Circs. Those are designed for our older, say, 110 circulators and different types of circulators where the face is different. And don't combine the two of them together. Don't put two together. Bob, he ran into that where there were two of them smashed together onto a project. Okay, so just the square round. That's all you need is the square rounds. This is what my nickname is, the square rounds here. All right.
As far as you know.
My nickname?
We have a couple others, but we'll leave it at that.
Okay. All right. Now, when you are installing, all right, you want to tighten down both sides equally, but by hand first, all right, and then take out the wrench and do one turn on each bolt or nut. All right, one turn and you're done. Do not jam these things down. You don't want to jam these things down. You just need to make sure you get proper contact with the square round and onto the flange itself. It does not take a lot of force on here. You shouldn't be really wrenching down on these things. It's one turn and you will compress it. If you tighten down one side and then start to tighten down the other side, you got one side all the way down, you're going to actually start bending flanges. All right. So Jim asks, can I clarify what is meant by the square rounds? Well, it's a square cut, but they're round.
Well, it's not an O-ring.
What's
that? Not an O-ring.
It's not an O-ring, right? It's a gasket, and so that's just what I've called it for the last 20 years, as a square round. I don't know. That's just me. I'm sure everybody has their own little nicknames for them, or just call it a gasket, huh?
That's kind of what I was. That's what I stuck
Yeah.
with for my years out there.
Yeah, but then this is a gasket too, and that's where the confusion comes into play.
Yep.
So,
And yeah, and you know, a lot of times the feeling is, hey, one gasket is good, two's got to be better, right? Let's be sure, and then let's crank the hell out of these things and get the 3-foot wrench and the 4-foot cheater bar, and yeah, then nothing good happens.
right. Yep. So excellent. So thanks, Boiler Crew. But Boiler Crew actually sent in 2 with me. So he started talking about high vents, and actually something that I omitted from the first class. All right. So first class, we talked about air elimination, dirt elimination in the systems, and here's a cutaway of that 400 vent that I had that day. But he had a really good tip to add to it. And he said, use thread tape only, no dope. All right, just use tape. All right. Oh yeah, that's supposed to be tape there. That's a typo. I was just copying and pasting. I forgot to adjust that. And John, you saw that yesterday too.
I was figuring you'd catch it there, square.
I know, I did, but I didn't. Yeah. But when installing it, you don't need a wrench to install these things. All right. Put them down hand tight. You've got enough grip on this thing where you can grab it with your hand and tighten it down. Now there is a hexagon shape on the bottom of it, and that is for removal. All right, as Boiler Crew says, sometimes you do need a 2-foot wrench to get these things off. All right, and it's going to grab onto the bottom, as you can see down here. All right, and then when the boiler's filling, open that cap a quarter turn and step back and listen to it roll. All right, let it know what it's doing. So, and here you can see the underside of it, and this is a job site that he just installed the other day, where you can put that wrench on there to take it off. All right, doesn't need to be tightened with a wrench on there. Okay. All right, how we doing out there? See a couple of questions coming in there. All right, JB.
One was from YW Mechanical. Just wanted to know what's wrong with the red one. He's talking about the red gasket. And the answer there is just simple. It's the 00 series circulator. You can see the picture there. The flange area is milled there's a milling there, a groove to hold the gasket to sit there, have the gasket sit right in there. So you've got what you're doing is that gasket is now going to be sealed right directly against the flange rather than milled in place, and you're just not going to slide around nearly as much, and you're going to get a better seal that way.
Yes, and I think also the other thing is too, the black gaskets are very soft, not super soft, but they're pretty soft where they will squish down a little bit. You put the red gasket in there, it's very thick. I mean, it's very dense. All right, and you're going to start to over tighten that, and it can also get cut on those edges in here too. That's the other thing. So when you just put this one down there, it starts to get cut onto the edges of the flange on the circulator itself, and you're going to create more leaks. So excellent. Thanks, YW.
And a couple other ones. The red one gets dry with time. And Wheel says the red gasket was always sold at the supply house as a quote unquote universal gasket. Not in this case.
Yeah, yep. Not with this crew, because everybody that's online with us tonight always installs green circulators with green flanges and stuff like that, right?
And square rounds.
And square rounds.
There you go.
All right. Did you have a tip, John?
I do have a tip. Can I take over the con here real quick?
You can. Yes, definitely.
All right. Let me do this. Boom, boom, boom. Where are we here? Uh-oh. Hold on. You're changing the presenter to moi. So
okay.
Show my screen. Can you see it okay?
We got it, brother.
We got big.
All right. My tip is how to size a buffer tank. We've been talking about buffer tanks over the past few weeks, and I just wanted to give you a real quick overview on how to size one. And you can't oversize one. That's the one thing. You can't oversize. But how do you know what to use? So we're going to go through that. Here's your piping schematic for a buffer tank. And as we said last week, a buffer tank is it's a big hydraulic separator. There's some water mass in there. And we use it when we have a lot of zones on a mod con boiler and the smallest zone is the BTU load on that smallest zone happens to be smaller or lower than the lowest firing rate of the boiler. We don't want to short cycle the boiler. We want to try to make for the longest possible cycles we can. So when we have that micro zone situation, we want to add that water mass to the system with a buffer tank. So the question is, how do you size one? Here's how we size one. Here's the math, guys. First things first, you want to find the minimum firing rate of the boiler. The boiler has a turn down ratio, right? You want to find the minimum firing rate. So if it's a 100,000 BTU boiler and it's got a 5-to-1 turn down ratio, well, then the lowest firing rate's 20,000 BTUs, all right? Or if it's a 200,000 BTU boiler and it's a 10-to-1 turn down ratio, well, then it's still 20,000 BTUs. You get the idea. So you want to find the minimum firing rate of the boiler as well as the BTU load of the smallest zone. So you're looking for the one single smallest zone. And then once you have those two, you're going to subtract the BTU load of the smallest zone from the minimum boiler firing rate. So it's minimum boiler firing rate minus the BTU load of the smallest zone. That's going to give you the BTU surplus. That's the extra BTUs you got to deal with, all right? That's your BTU surplus. Step two, you want to multiply that BTU surplus by your desired minimum runtime, meaning every time that boiler fires, I want it to fire for at least, bam, this amount of time. And we use 10 minutes as a benchmark, meaning every time that boiler fires, no matter what time of year it is, we want it to run for at least 10 minutes to achieve as much efficiency as possible. So the BTU surplus times your desired minimum runtime, typically 10 minutes, that's going to give you something we call the cycle factor. That's the cycle factor. Now, to size the tank, you're going to divide the cycle factor by the delivery side delta T times 500. Not the boiler side, the delivery side delta T times 500 if it's 100% water, and 470 if it's 30% glycol, etc. So cycle factor divided by delta T times 500 will give you the tank capacity in gallons. That'll tell you how big of a tank you need. So let's do one real quick, and then I'll turn it back to Dave. Let's say I've got a 150,000 BTU ModCon boiler with a 10-to-1 turn down ratio. Well, 150,000 BTUs, 10-to-1 turn down ratio. What's the firing rate? The lowest firing rate. It's going to be 15,000 BTUs. The load of the smallest zone in this application happens to be 5,000 BTUs. That's telling me it's probably a radiant system, a real small zone. So I start by dividing or subtracting that BTU load of the smallest zone from the lowest firing rate. So 15,000 BTUs minus 5,000 BTUs gives me a BTU surplus of 10,000. That's my BTU surplus. Next, I'm going to multiply that by my desired minimum runtime. So 10,000 BTUs times my 10-minute desired minimum runtime gives me a cycle factor of 100,000. So my cycle factor is 100,000. Last step, real quick, divide that cycle factor by my delivery side delta T times 500. Now this was a radiant system, okay? This was a radiant system that was designed to a delta T of 10. So the water was going out at 120, coming back at 110, for example. Typically residential hydronics is a 20. In this example, we designed it to a 10 because it's a residential radiant system. So 10 times 500 is 5,000. Just coincidentally, it's the same as the load, but that's just a coincidence. So we divide 100,000 by 5,000, and that's going to tell us that we need a 20-gallon tank. We need to get a 20-gallon tank. Minimum. Now, if the delta T was 20, I'd say it was standard hydronics, not residential radiant, it would be 20 times 500 or 10,000. Then I would divide 100,000 by 10,000. And then with that, I would need a 10-gallon tank. In this case, I need a 20-gallon tank, right? So when we're looking for a buffer tank for this application, we're going to be looking for a 20-gallon tank. Well, wait a minute. What? I can't find a 20-gallon tank. I can only find an 18-gallon tank. I can't do this. No. No crying in hydronics. There's no crying in hydronics. If the only thing you can find is an 18-gallon tank, put in an 18-gallon tank. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? Dave, Rick, what's the worst thing that's going to happen if I put in an 18-gallon tank instead of a 20-gallon tank?
Yeah, it's going to cycle just a little bit more than you'd anticipated.
Right. I might have a 9-minute run time instead of a 10-minute run time. That's better than 30 seconds, okay? Which is what we're trying to accomplish. What if you can only find a 25-gallon tank instead of a 20-gallon tank? Well, put in the 25, you're going to have a longer cycle than 10 minutes, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
So don't get too wrapped up, but I got to get exactly a 20-gallon tank. Get as close as you can. A little small, a little big, doesn't matter. What can you
Hey,
find
John,
readily available and in that neighborhood?
there's some comments here about not considering under a design condition like we always do, but it makes sense in the way that they're translating this based on a 50-degree day. I think Anthony first mentioned it, and then somebody else was talking about it as well. So, you know, again, I haven't considered that, but that might be something worthy of discussion in that we're trying to keep the boiler from cycling too much. And when is it likely to cycle? More is on a warm, semi-warm day rather than a design condition, right? So that they're making some points here with that as well. And somebody had talked about putting the buffer right on the zone that is the worst. So in series with that one zone, I haven't seen that drawn up that way. I haven't considered that, but it's just stating what people are putting on here. So.
Yeah, I think you want to just take into account all of the zones, because maybe I got a 5,000 BTU zone and maybe I've got a 7,000 BTU zone, right? And if the 5,000 BTU zone isn't Coulombe, but the 7,000 BTU zone is, it's still smaller than, you know, the lowest firing rate. I think when you're starting to, when you think about it, and I'm just going to intuit this a little bit. If we get this thing to work at, you know, under design conditions, I got to believe they work in lockstep, because that you know, the firing rate's going to go down, the water temperature is going to go down as it gets warmer out, right? It still can't go below that 15,000 BTU limit, but as that 5,000 BTU zone gets smaller and smaller and smaller, well, the worst thing that's going to happen is, okay, that 10-minute runtime might go to 9, might go to 8, might go to 7. The thing we're trying to avoid is the sub 1 minute runtime, right? That's the biggest thing we're trying to avoid. Now, the lower the water temperature, the longer the runtime we will have, obviously, as well as, you know, if you work with a Delta T pump, that pump's going to be slowing down a little bit, which will even things out. So there's a lot of other mitigating circumstances here that I think will balance it out. Hey, maybe we don't have a 10, maybe it's a 9, maybe it's an 8, maybe it's a 7. But what we're talking about, it's better than 30 seconds or 10 seconds or 20 seconds or whatever it could be. Very good. Excellent stuff, guys. Excellent stuff. Dave, I'm going to send this back to you now.
All right.
Thank you for letting me have that opportunity.
You're welcome. Thank you.
No, thank you.
All righty. So we're going to continue on with what submitted ones that came in today. And yes, I also got one from myself, and I also have one from Rickster that we will also share with you guys. So let me move along. So Christopher Plumbing. He came along and he sent me a couple of messages, and he says, do a heat loss, perform heat losses. Got to get some numbers, man. And he said, you shouldn't be replacing boilers without one, period. All right, because that means you trusted the guy before you. And maybe it was you, but maybe it was a long time ago before you knew some more stuff too at the same time. But do some sort of math or some sort of analyzing what size boiler you should be putting into a circulator. Into a system itself. And I remember the story that John has always told in many years of training classes about his uncle. All right, his uncle was the guy that did all the boiler sizing in his company. All right, and he carried around wooden folding tape measures sticks all the time. All right, never used
rulers, Dave.
Ruler. There we go. Sorry,
there you go.
I was going to say tape measure, but I'm like, it's not a tape measure, you know. So, and he had a pencil, and he would walk around the first floor of the house, never went upstairs, walked around the first floor of the house, measuring and putting marks on it. he would leave the house, show up at the wholesaler, and go to the counter and say, hey, I need a new boiler. Okay, what size do you need? And he would take out the ruler, unfold it up, and say one just slightly smaller than this, which was the smallest opening in the house that the boiler had to pass through to get down into the boiler room. Okay, so that was his heat loss. And in the many years that he did it, he never had a cold customer. You know, but yes, fuel was just flying out of that house like there was no tomorrow.
That wasn't his problem.
Exactly right. Just wanted to make sure people weren't cold.
Nobody froze to death on his watch.
That's right. So should always do it. You know, like I said, and when you do a heat load, when you do it, trust the numbers that you see. All right. Yes, Dave Yates is saying about the curve method. Yes, you know, the 3-finger rule, you know, and it changes if it's a ranch. Yes, yep. You know, or 2 hands. So yeah, when you do the math, trust the math. You will be surprised. The heat loss in my own house came in at 36,000 BTUs. I had a forced air in that old house, and I had 100,000 BTU furnace for the first floor. I had another 100,000 BTU furnace for the second floor, and the entire load of the house was 36,000. So yes, we were happy when I converted that house over to radiant heating and watched that fuel bill plummet 70%. So never ever follow what was in there and decide to even add 10% more. Okay. All right. So you'll be way too big. You'll be way too big. So here is mine. Here's a nice little tech tip, and I actually learned this from my cousin, who's an electrician. He asked me to come by a job site one day to help him wire up some hydronic systems. And he took some leftover Romex that was around the job site, and he cut strips about 4 or 5 inches long, maybe a couple of 6 inches. It depends. So he had a whole bunch of these, just little pieces of Romex laying around. Now it was solid. It wasn't cut at all. It was just cut short. It wasn't sliced down the length of it. And he took those and slid it over the wire. So he took the wire out and just kept the jacket. So in the electrical box, he did this. So because the cover wasn't on and wasn't going to be there for quite a long time, he was able to label all his wires, so then he can come back and label the breaker box for the homeowners in what circuit each circuit was doing. I know, you walk into some electrical closets here and you're going to see scratched out and another name written there because they put the wrong one down, or the homeowner said, yeah, no, that's not the garage. That was the master bath, because they forgot what they did. So he did this, then took a photo of it and then put the panel on it and wrote it back down again. So I said, why can't I use that for our world? You come across all these thermostat wires coming into a project and all these low voltage wiring coming into a zone valve board or a switching relay. And, we've all done different ways to try to label the wires. You've got some masking tape hanging over the edges of them. You try to take some of the stickers and the numbers you put on there, but then you got to keep a legend someplace on what the numbers were. There's so many different ways that I've experienced this, but now these are permanent. They will not come off. So let me zoom in on there for you. All right, so now you can label every wire and it doesn't go anywhere. So I just wanted to apply it to here. So every time I go and wire up a controller, this is what I like to do. So this is one of my tips into keeping it neat, clean, and for the next guy in. Okay, it doesn't say what terminal they're going to. I know a lot of people will also label the front of the cover and what the lights represent, and that's great because this isn't going to tell you the light, so you should do that too possibly. So just a little tip I like to pass along.
Good, very good.
All right, Kiefer at Outlaw Mechanical, friend of ours out in New Mexico. Thank you very much, Kiefer, for sending this along. He says always have a copy of the wiring guide that we have. Valuable resource. All right, he keeps one around. He keeps it digital, so he took a picture of his iPad when he's out at job sites. So he always has the wiring diagram. So this way, there are so many different ways we can show you to wire stuff in here. It's amazing what's in this little book. So I usually try to keep a couple around. I got one kept on my desk here. I got one down in my boiler room. I've got one in the toolbox. So they're always around. Keep them. And yes, I do know a lot of people where I can get these from. So I got a file.
Yeah, we trust us. We know a guy.
I know
we got a guy. We can hook you up. We got a guy.
So if you need to hit the website, you could do a download and have a PDF version of this. If you want the hard copy, stop by your wholesaler, find your TACO rep. They're going to have boxes of these things. And we want you to have these. So get you, and we even show you how to wire in the old panels to new panels. So the old metal box covers, wiring diagrams are in there. So very, very, very valuable book. All right, Jim Tamblyn, he sent in a bunch of them, okay? And I tried to pull out one of the best ones that he had, and I really enjoyed reading. So thank you, Jim, for sending those all over to me. Greatly appreciate it. Had some really, really great ideas, but I had to pick one. So he said, don't count on anything but your fingers. All right, if you're going to rely on somebody else, it was a great picture. I had to use it because he didn't give me any pictures, so I had to make up some of my own, which was good. So don't count on anything but your fingers, meaning, you know, when you go to a house to do some troubleshooting, there's something wrong in the house. All right, don't immediately run downstairs to the boiler room, all right, and start messing around down there. Listen to what the homeowners are saying. All right, there are things that they've had going on. It's not just, oh, if it's just no heat in that room, all right, we know how to fix that. We know what to go find out there. But if something's not right, really listen to what they're saying. And I used to do a lot of that back in my radiant troubleshooting days. Listen to what the homeowners were expecting, because I got the phone call saying these controls are not programmed properly, or they're all messed up, they're not working right. Listen to what the homeowners have to say, and sometimes it was a simple tweak of the thermostat, not the stuff downstairs, or even just the understanding of the thermostat. But now we also check the obvious. Go back to the KISS method, right? Check the power, duh, right? I mean, I know homeowners run into that all the time. What's our most popular service call that we get in the middle of the winter, especially the day after the holiday? The service switch is shut off because they had family over. All right, and somebody thought it was the light switch and turned it off. All right, but make sure, you know, is it correct? Is it the correct breaker? Are you getting the right voltage that you're expecting to something? So check that power, do the simple thing there. Also verify proper gas pressure. Have the tools and equipment to verify it. There is no such thing as, yes, I got normal gas pressure here. All right, when you call a company, when you call a manufacturer or any help out there and they ask you, what's the gas pressure? Don't say normal. All right, there is no such thing as normal. All right, verify your water pressure and temperatures. And when it comes to verifying too, also don't just trust the gauge that's there and or your own gauge. You might need to have a second gauge to just double check. All right, that it is doing what it, yeah, the pressures were good. Right. So, you know, we know those tridecators, they don't move for years on end, right? They're sitting there stuck at one spot. We want to make sure. So get your own pressure gauge out of the truck and throw it onto the system and make sure. Okay. So, so this was excellent. You know, I thought this was another good example, good pass along there, Jim. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it.
Good stuff.
Rickster. Now I can give you the keyboard and mouse, so you don't have to put your presentation up there.
I'll put it up.
I'm sorry?
I'll put it up. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to give you the mouse so we don't have to change the screen. So you are actually have control over the keyboard and mouse.
Can I interject something real quick? A lot of folks asked about how do they get a wiring guide. Some of you who asked specifically, I gave you a link to download the PDF off of our website, and I also put it in the chat section and sent it to everybody. So you should be able to just click on that link and you can download a PDF. If you want a hard copy, best bet would be to contact your local TACO rep, and they'll be able to get you one.
Well, the PDFs are handy just because then you can go through your computer and find the one you want, print off, and just have that one piece of paper and not have to leave the whole thing because you want that for your toolbox or your truck. So
Yeah, and you can have it on here too.
yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
tablet people nowadays for people who can't see, like me. So, Dave, I'll try this. We've not done this remote. The mouse is a little slow there, but we'll see how
Let's
this
see it.
works. Otherwise, I'll
Okay.
bring mine up and drive on it.
Okay.
But okay, there's still plenty of people out there not knowing how to get the big bubbles out. They actually think that when they spend a lot of money on a fancy air separator and magnetic dirt separators and you know, uh, hydraulic separators and things like that, that they just do all the work for you. But we still getting calls. Boiler people are still getting calls. Pump people are still getting calls that, hey, I can't get this system going, or I've got things locking out. Or one of the things cool about Taco's pumps is we kind of tell you nowadays that you got too much air in your system. So we got this little white light that shows you, hey, you didn't do a good job of purging, and it shows you and shows you until you get it right. So I thought I would just talk about. I'm not going to go through the whole power purge detail with you. You can see that I'm bringing water in here. If I shut this valve off and I pump out this direction, it goes all the way around the system, comes back, and now I can purge out this hole. So let's show you another sketch. Yeah, okay, it's on a black background. Man, that's fancy. I love it. So I just hope my next thing I bring in here actually shows up. You can see there's a floor drain there, right? And what I want to do is just show you that I want to purge out. Some people just purge right into this floor drain, right? And that tends to work pretty good. It's been done a long time. They'll take the cover off, put the hose down in there. But the problem with that is you can hear water kicking and bucking and doing a good job of purging, but what you can't do is see how much air is actually left in the water that's coming out your hose. So one way to do that, some of you know this already, the people that learned it a long time ago, at least where I learned it, was the people who are using premixed glycol in a big barrel. Not a big barrel, 30 gallon or whatever. And if you purging, you don't want to, any of that glycol to go down the drain. So you purge back into your own bucket. And when the hose goes down at the bottom of the bucket, you see all these little bubbles coming up. And it's like, wow, this is pretty cool. So I purge that. The idea was you purge until there's no more bubbles. You can feel there's still something coming out the hose. You can feel the velocity, you can hear it, and or depending on how noisy the mechanical room is, but you're looking for any bubbles. As soon as no bubbles are done, you shut that zone off, open up another one, out comes a kicking and bucking, and then wait until all the bubbles are gone, go to the next zone, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of people forget you could do that with just water too. You set the bucket over this, yeah, see, that didn't show up the way I'd intended. But anyway, you can kind of get the idea here. Down in the bottom of this, right? And water comes up over the top, flows over now down into the drain. But at least, and this next, I tried to find a picture of this, but I think this might help. Now you can see the bubbles coming up from the bottom of it. And it's the little bubbles. Ideally, you don't want to quit purging that zone till all the bubbles are gone. Then you've done a good job with the bubbles that are actually visible. We'll let the Taco 4900 take care of the micro bubbles, scrubbing all that, doing what it's supposed to do. Yeah, somebody says it looks like 7-Up, but yeah, it does. It's in the bottom of a stainless steel bucket. That's probably why it looks that way. Anyhow, same thing applies here. This is just more of the same, showing how to do the zones. You do 1, and then you'll do 2 and 3, and the corresponding returns, kind of in the same order. And again, I'm not going to go through all the details. The main tip is here, even if you're doing water, don't just take the hose and put it in the floor drain or put it outside. Get you a nice little bucket that you can see good in, and purge inside the bucket. Make sure all the bubbles are gone. That way you've done good. Okay, it applies to all kinds of different systems out there, and I think I show like a ModCon on here too, and I think same thing applies there. So that's all I wanted to share. And if you haven't done this already, I hope you try it. I think you'll never go back to doing it another way. At least I had. So go ahead.
Beauty.
Excellent. Excellent.
A couple of comments about the best way to explain that is saying you're entering glycol without the glycol, which kind of makes sense.
Excellent, Rickster. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thanks for driving. So so hey, we did something new now, right?
Yeah, we did.
We actually were able to share the screen, John. So a little easier than having to swap back and forth. So we'll work on that in the future too.
Marvelous.
So, learn some new stuff going on in the software all the time, man. So never sit still. All right. So Omer Hamdan, he had sent in a couple of comments and tips for us here. And one of the things he's talked about was air and dirt separators. But the first thing he said was use Takeo Circs always. So you get the Teacher's Pet Award. So he was just going for the extra tickets there to win the cooler and stuff like that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So yes, use Takeo Circs, but in all seriousness too, at the same time, he was saying use your air and dirt separators on the systems. All right, they are there for a reason. They are there to help us out and also, help you get the air out. I'm sure nobody here enjoys purging. Let this thing do as much of the work as possible. Yes, you still got to get the air bubbles out, like Rick was talking about. But then also let's consider, the dirt separators on the boiler side of things too, and protecting the system. As boilers are changing, the designs are changing, systems are changing. These things are becoming more and more popular, or more desired and or needed. All right. So if you did not join us for week 1 for the winter essentials, I did go over that. So go back and watch that video if you'd like to see, went into good detail on the air and dirt elimination. So thank you, Omer. Greatly appreciate it.
See what Bob said? He goes, I'm charging hourly. Purging is peaceful and profitable.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. Yes, you're sitting on the bucket just waiting. Yep. And here's some pictures that I got from some friends of mine there from NTI had sent these over to me, and they've cut open some of their heat exchangers. And talking about, water quality is one thing, but also protecting, and getting that dirt out before it gets into the boiler is so important nowadays. And I know those boys out there, most of the boiler companies are saying, all right, you got a failed heat exchanger. Before anything goes on, give me a water sample. All right. Or we might show up on our own and get a water sample just to make sure you're not pulling it out of the tap. So it's getting more and more important nowadays, I believe. All right, and another one I got from Radiant Ready Toronto, from online from Instagram, and he said, "Love them pump curves." Okay, and he said, "Fall in love with pump curves." And for those of you that were around for most of the winter essentials, we spent a lot of time talking about pump curves. Really delve into them. He says, gotta love those curves. All joking aside, learn them, love them, live them, right? So this was episode 3 where we had done just talking about 3-speeds, right, JB?
That's right.
This was your class. This is one of your classes that you had done.
2 hours on 3 speeds.
Yeah. For week 3. So yes, love the curves, love those curves. So, and it was interesting because our substitute instructor, when I was not available, Jim De Palma, had come on board and took over for me one night. He also sent in a tip to me, and he was saying that when he first got into the industry, on his side, when he started looking at Takeo, he was taught pump curves at first, and he learned them and he understood them. But the other half of learning pump curves is also really learn how to find your GPM and how to find your head, your calculated head. Find your needed GPM and find your installed foot of head loss. All right. And then once you have those 3 things together, everything will mesh. All right, and you will have systems doing what you want it to do. So again, thank you, Jim, for sending that over also. Thank you, Radiant Ready in Toronto. Greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, that's right, Harry.
Yes, Harry says, do the math, man.
Do the math.
If you do, and we've been saying that all for many, many years. I always add to that. If you do the math, you can never, ever be wrong. That's the important part. You can never, ever, ever be wrong. All right, if you do the math and you understand the math.
Right. I like to say, do the math. The math will never lie to you or break your heart.
Exactly
if you
right.
do it in advance. If you do it in advance.
Yep. All right, and one more to go.
Great, because we got the president and the CEO lined up and ready to rock here, Dave.
Right. This is our last one.
Let's get this one done. Terry Turner.
This is our last one. This is our last one from Mr. Terry Turner. He's saying,
Terry. Good to have you with us, Terry. I've known Terry since the late 90s, so it's good to have you here.
Excellent. So you gave me a bunch of good tips there, Terry. Greatly appreciate it. I used one from you. Yes, Terry Turner from Chicago, Prisby. That's right. So he says, when you're on a job site, not a lot of things are square. All right. Very hard to find things that are perfectly square. The joists, the walls, the beams. He was talking about his example when he was installing some ductwork on a job site. And one of his first times by himself. And he wanted to do it as best as possible, but he couldn't find anything that was square that he could use. If it was the outside wall, it was way too far because he needed to go down the center of the structure. So what he had learned, he said the answer came from above one day. All right. And not what you're all thinking about right away on what came up above. He said, look up. You look up and you're going to see the seams from the subfloor above. And those are typically going to be somewhat square because they're not cutting this plywood and it's going to be relatively square and they're going to square it to the one side of the house, or they're going to trim it. All right. So you can follow that line. Yes, they're going to stagger them. Okay. The seams, but at least you can follow that seam going down the line. And he said, take a speedy square and you just put a mark on the joist underneath it and then run a snap line. You get your two ends of the house, run a snap line, and there you go. Now, I know a lot of people nowadays, they're going and whipping out, your laser levels and things like that, but this is going old school. All right. So yes, so it all depends on where you set it up though. Are you square to the walls also there, Bob? So that could also be what you're looking for if you're trying to get something down the center here like this. You want to make it look nice and neat. You got to have one reference point first. All right. Got to get that one reference point too. So thank you, Terry. Greatly, greatly appreciate it. All right. So to review, these are the 10 that was submitted in. All right. So David had the read the manuals. We had Rich Baran with the World War II planes and analyzing where to put armor. Boiler Crew talked about how to install circulators and flanges, making sure you use the square rounds. He also talked about high vents and installing high vents in the system and putting tape on. Christopher Plumbing, always do a heat loss, otherwise you're guessing. Outlaw Mechanical, get yourself a wiring guide and never have it too far away. Jim Tamblyn was talking about troubleshooting, the KISS method. Omer talking about air and dirt separation. Radiant Ready Toronto, love those curves. And Terry Turner, keep it square. So this is in the order that I'm also going to present it in the poll that you need to answer. And in that poll, unfortunately, I can only do 5 answers, 5 polls that I could do. And so what I would like everybody to do is vote once, okay? And remember your number here, okay? I will have this review as the poll that pops in. So let's I'm gonna pull up the poll right now. So hang on one second. I'm gonna pull up poll number 1, which is going to be the first 5. And then I'll pull up, and I'm gonna leave that up for a couple of minutes. And then poll number 2, which will be the second 5. So let me run that. And please take a look at it. I'm going to launch my poll. Vote now, 1 to 5, launch. All right. So please answer on your device, on the computer right now. And I can see everything coming in there. So greatly, greatly appreciate everybody answering. So answer those, I'll leave it up for about 30 seconds. And then I will pull up the second one, and then I can share it with everybody on who our big winner is on the systems. Anything to add, gentlemen? And what I will also do, I may not be able to announce it today because I also see people typing it into the question box. So I'm going to have to take all those, and I'm going to have to review those and tally everything up. So I will try to get it done tonight. I will be able to take a stop myself, while Johnny and Cheryl and JB take over. So I'm going to close this poll out. And then I am going to pull up the second poll.
There you go.
All right. So excellent. I see a bunch of answers coming into the question area, and that's great too. Greatly appreciate it. So, man, we got a lot of active people tonight. I am happy. I am very, very happy here tonight.
I see a note from David Coulombe. He just picked up a VT 2218 this past Friday. That pump is awesome. It is. Again, I told you, it's to me, it is the best residential circulator on the market, bar none. It's an amazing little piece of equipment on the ECM side. Really cool little piece of equipment, can do an awful lot. Kiefer Raider says, I live and swear on that pump. There you go. Yeah, it does what it needs to do, and it's an awesome piece of equipment. Absolutely awesome piece of equipment.
I just designed one this morning for a guy on Facebook. He was looking for a small snow melt system and wasn't sure what to do with it, on how to control it, put a mix valve in, and he didn't want to have to glycol the whole system. So I said, drop in the heat exchanger, put in the VT 2218 on the boiler side of the heat exchanger, put the temperature sensors on the other side, on the snow melt side. Snow melt side has a fixed temperature. So you can eliminate a lot of expensive controls and mixing and use the heat exchanger as you're mixing. So the circulator will speed up and down as the snow load increases because the delta T starts to increase.
There you go. There you go.
So very easy way to get a control platform set up. I'm going to close out the second poll. Thank you very much, everybody. All right, and I will try to announce all of that later on.
All right, get to doing your cipher in there, Dave, or should I call you square round? Oh, and before you do anything, what do you got there?
I did have an honorable mention from my buddy Anthony Reikow, also from Instagram. So honorable mention. So one of the things that he said is find a mentor. All right, and there was an article written by Anthony Tosco, the gentleman in the black shirt in this picture here. Anthony is the guy on the left, and find a mentor in the industry. All right, and there's a lot of us out there. There's a lot of people out there. Use the system to your advantage is the biggest thing I can say. So find your factory reps, find your wholesaler salesmen, find the manufacturers that are going to help you. All right, because we are all here to help you do your best. All right, we're going to give you the tools and the equipment to enable you to do the best job possible. So all these people are here to help you, all in this industry, all working together for a common goal. So if you're interested in reading this article on how Anthony changed Anthony's life here, it was amazing. Anthony Reikow is with us tonight. I'm not sure if Mr. Tosco is with us either. I'm not sure. I didn't take a look at the list at all. But it really helped him, really helped grow his business and give himself focus in this industry. So, and work with those people. So that was just one of my honorable mentions that I wanted to throw in there.
Very good. Awesome. Hey, there he is. Got a request from Mr. Facey, our boss. He wanted you to go back and put up the fingers and the hands picture because he's got a plan for that. So just zip past there. And while you're doing that, I'd like to again thank you guys all for the submissions and for the votes. This is awesome. Stick around. We're going to make sure we tabulate that and find out who's taking home that prize package. But I'd also like to invite in our special guests who've been waiting very, very patiently. Johnny White and Cheryl Merchant, owner of Takeo and CEO of Takeo. And we're really super excited and pleased to have you guys with us, because thank you for taking your Wednesday night out. And I know we've got close to 200, we've got over 200 people online who would, I'm sure, love to ask you some questions and hear what you guys have to say about how things are going. And right now, David Yates is out there giving you a virtual round of applause.
My buddy.
Good to see you guys.
Good to be here. Really.
Happy Patty's Day, man. Happy Patty's Day. Y'all look like you're well in. If you don't mind, I brought a Guinness to share with you.
All right.
Sound like
Excellent.
This kind of crew.
Yeah. One of the things that's tough with Guinness is dyeing it green. So
You can't dye Guinness. It's hard to dye Guinness green.
It's not as good out of the tap, but it's good. It's good it's all about the company.
There you go. Well, I've got a question for both of you, and I think it's going to be kind of maybe appropriate to what for our audience tonight. For Johnny and Cheryl, this has been a crazy year, right? This has been a crazy year. What have you seen from our customer base that really just struck you as that's what we love to see from our customers? Anything that you've seen out there that makes you go, wow, that's why I love what we do?
Yeah, I would say, Cheryl, you have probably your own take too, but what we've seen is I think the definite swing toward reliability and dependability. We've seen, I think, growth actually in the last 6 months, particularly. Forget the first part of this pandemic, because that was a disaster for everybody. But I think people have shown that it's very interesting. I think people have showed that loyalty and dependence is more important almost than anything else in the relationships we've built with these people. So, so they've come to us, and we've been able to, and the loyalty has just been so clear to me, and that's what I've built my whole life. I've spent working on creating something that people can feel loyal to and feel good about being loyal to. And by golly, I think this showed us that. Sure, you probably have a different take.
I'm gonna just take it into another round. You talk about people that are passionate about what they do. We took the word essential to a whole new level, right? I mean, everywhere we were talking to customers and people that were out there, what do we got to do to maintain our operations? Because there are people depending on us. There are homes that need heating. There are, vaccine centers, right? And hospitals and hotels and you name it. But being essential and doing everything they can to take care of their people and stay in operations for those who need us. And it was really a banding together all the way across the states. From one end of this continent to another, it was pretty amazing.
Sure thing.
Very cool. Yeah. One of the things that we learned here, from the first round of Takeo After Dark through tonight is that being able to we can't see each other in person, and we discussed this earlier today. We can't see each other in person. This is what we have, and it's great to be able to make use of a tool like this to, at the very least, have at least some sort of a community. And we've been able to have a community of 200 people on a Wednesday night too. So that's been very gratifying from my end, anyway.
But you've also been able to. And I've watched, a number of these Wednesdays. I'm usually in bed about now, but anyway, I have watched a few of these, and you've actually made it fun. You've made it fun, and you have a great audience.
Oh yes.
I listened to those comments just now, those suggestions. I even had a couple of my own, but I decided to refrain because everything I ever installed it'll be reinstalled probably. But you've had fun with these folks, and they've had fun with you, and I just think that's, what my dad used to have a great expression, and that was that everything he ever did, he had fun, serious fun, but he had fun, and I think this is a great thing.
Yeah, I'm 100% behind you on that one. We've been talking a lot lately that boy, it was heads down all last year to your comment, John. Rough year, everybody, what unknowns are happening, what's going to happen, you know, from shutdowns to the struggles to people getting sick and everything that we were all dealing with. And then there goes the home life and everything else, right? But just every once in a while, we would be on teams like this, and I won't call out the rep we were talking to, but we were out there talking to some of our customers, and he reached under his desk and he picked up a bottle of JD, and he says, you know, sometimes when it's time to call the meeting to an end, and I mean, this industry, they're just bring a smile. Get somebody else to smile. If you can get somebody to smile back at you, it just feels so good, because we didn't lose hope. We didn't lose momentum. It was just perseverance, right?
Yeah, you know, another thing that came out of this whole year of COVID for TACO, and I think this is actually much more important than probably anybody understands, unless you're in the middle of it. But you know, I was talking to a group. I do these clock tower chats with the TACO employees every week, and I had 10 of them this morning. And you know, somebody asked me a question very similar to this question, but more like, what have you learned inside the company? And you know, we've been so forced to focus on the operations and on being able to deliver and keeping our people safe. God, I'll tell you, the first thing we did was to keep people safe, because those people are the ones that have allowed us to be able to ship things and, you know, get things out. You know what I mean? So that's. But one of the things that's happened in this year, and this is very significant to me, I was thinking about this while I was talking to these people this morning, is Cheryl and I have kind of figured out our roles. You know, I know that sounds funny, but when everything was on the fly for
You
a couple,
start talking about a cook in the kitchen and put me back in the kitchen, we're calling it.
I don't say put you in the kitchen. I mean that, you know. but maybe,
some other day, everybody ask him about who's the maitre d' and who's the kitchen, who goes to the kitchen. All right.
Yeah, that's right. But it has been important, and TACO is in really great shape right now from a management leadership standpoint. I've never seen it's stronger under Cheryl.
But Johnny, just to think about it, every 7:30 every single morning, the entire executive team coming together, you and I sitting there, what are we going to do? Shut down this, move that, get people home, juggle. But we were blessed to TACO just because what a partnership you and I had. You know, there's too many times you're sitting there, you're leading a company and it's what to do, but we were never like that. We were turning to each other and saying, what do you think? How do you do it? And then looking at the entire team and just going with it. It was just amazing, absolutely amazing. But, you know, you go from one end of the state to the other, and what did we learn? But we were talking to guys today, when you think about California, you know, out there on the West Coast, holy smoke, shut down first, then all the wildfires and companies going under. And you ask, what did your customers do? I remember I had one guy tell me, and I won't call out Josh's name either, but it'd say, you know, they're going to have to pull my dead body out of here before I start doing what we got to do every day. Just the determination on every level all the way across this industry, and our customers, our sales guys, locked down, not being able to see anybody. Oh, what a hard event. But then still crawling down in and putting pumps in, right?
I've got some questions teed up here for you guys and some comments. One from our man Kiefer Rader out in New Mexico. TACO is a family. And he's
Kiefer, you are one of my favorite people on the planet Earth, and that little picture, that baby looking at a 007E is just
yeah.
weepy.
I have that as my backdrop on Teams.
I saw that earlier. I saw that.
When these two white babies are born, they're going to be TACO employees absolutely immediately, and so, you know, that's the way the family rolls.
What's up, Keeper?
Let's see what else we have. We have Stanley Hill says, we're loyal because of your company's support. And here's a question, kind of a comment question from David Coulombe. Did I get that one right, Dave? Let's see. Oh, I lost it now. I got to go back and find it. Where is the question? Here it is. Johnny and Cheryl, keep up this type of training information sharing. Some companies are too stingy with their info. Knowledge is power. The amount of information readily available without passwords and special logins is outstanding. Can tell you from personal experience, it's making a difference on what DoD maintainers want. So that's good news. Very good.
Really?
Take was one of the few suppliers who have kept up a good shipping schedule and not shorted our shipments, says Douglas Speck Jr. That's great to know. Let's see.
Shorting?
What?
They said that we, others have shorter shipments. I'm sorry, I was a little surprised at that one.
Oh, there we go. There we go. From Bob Dressler. I think this type of communication has been very positive. Many people can't attend, but this at night is a great platform. So good to know. Guys, thank you for all of the really great comments in front of the two bosses. Thank you. We didn't set that up. We didn't stage that.
You know, one of the things that I would say about TACO to this group, particularly to this group, this is the group that I have always valued as the most important part of our life, really, because it's for the obvious reasons. But one of the things I would say is that is one of the differentiators of one of the things that really differentiates TACO, I think, is that I have always wanted this company to be pretty transparent and pretty open to anybody, actually. As I always say to people, there's nothing I love more in my life than to share this company with people. So people need to know that, because I am very, very accessible, as is Cheryl, to anybody for anything, to issues, problems, complaints, whatever. I mean, the good news is great news, but so is the bad news sometimes, right? So it's
you don't even
important.
care if we're helping. Guys will call into the tech group and then we'll be like, well, what exactly pump do you have? Well, it's not really yours, but I was having trouble with it and I didn't know who else to call. Okay. Well, let us help you. What can we do? So it doesn't make any difference, when you reach out and you have this kind of flow. And so transparency, communication, this has been the only thing that's keeping us sane. When you talk about these communications, I've tried watching these guys more than once, and they won amazing awards tonight, this team, because we all know they're the best training team in the world. But I've watched them, and some of that information just goes.
Yeah, did you understand any of it, Cheryl? Because
no, I don't know.
I know there's all kinds of little arrows and dots and circles and shit like that, but I don't know what the hell.
I call guys like you.
Yeah, that's right. That's why we have telephones.
It sounds funny, and it won't move.
Oh my gosh.
Johnny, I got a question for you from Roger Brandstatter. Did
Yes,
you
sir.
have long hair back when you first started in this business, and how did your dad respond to it? My older brother had to break the ground for it with my dad back around 1970 when the dress codes came off in the schools. It was kind of rough at first, but was easier for us younger brothers. I'm a third generation plumbing and heating contractor. So what's the history with the hair?
The history of the hair is that, it was always a little longer than short, if you know what I mean, but it was not as long as now it's practically to my waist. But when I was about,
got cut off from you couldn't get to the hairdresser for how many months, Johnny?
yeah, well, what happened was actually when I was 40, I broke my neck. And I had one of those foam collar things, It was this very serious break. I was very fortunate, but I had one of those foam collars. And, I don't know what happened, but I think somehow I wigged out a little bit, and I became a little rebellious. And that's when I had my first ponytail, and for the rest is history. And you know what? Tell you another thing. Whether my hair was long or not, I never really wanted to be like the other guy. I never did. I never was I never wanted to be necessarily to fit a mold, because you walk into a Capitol Grill or someplace and everybody looks alike. You ever notice how hard it is to find the guy you're looking for because they all look alike? So I didn't want to be like that.
Not you. But you know what? It's a great question, the way he phrased it about the industry, because to be, to see you, whether comfy like you are with us tonight, or see you in a amazing suit sitting in front of the governor or in the panels or handling a business, it really just says stop all the stereotype, right? Here's an incredibly kind, powerful person. It has nothing to do with the long hair. So hopefully those stereotypes were busted for the gentleman that was asking.
Yeah, that was a great question. I always appreciate that.
Yeah.
And here's another favorite from YW Mechanical. Why the green color?
I got that question
Really?
too.
Okay, so there's a story behind that, you know, and it's a long one if you have 20 minutes or so, or I could cut right to the chase and just tell you I have an effing idea. I really don't. It's a funny thing. We have this, Johnny and Dave, you know, we have this question. I get asked this question every time you're having a training session at in that innovation center. And so I have spun more yarns on this thing. And actually, some of them are probably pretty good. But, you know, you know, everybody else is red, so why don't we be green? You know, it's like, you know, it's like the buoy system or the Christmas colors. You know? But, and I certainly am not going to be red.
Well, of course not.
No,
Right.
but why everybody else is.
Right.
Literally. So, so it's a great question, and I wish I could honestly give you maybe I should research that, but I don't know who to
You
research.
say is it will stay green, right,
I'm the
Johnny?
oldest link in the chain here. So, but
I don't know what we got here, but we're staying here.
yeah. Oh, by the way, there's been about 50 million renditions of green. So, I mean, it hasn't always been the same green.
What was the Taco's very first product, going back to when your grandfather started the company?
It was a what was called a fire pot generator, which is, you know, absolutely simply put, if you cut right to the chase and look at now, it's the same thing as an Amtrol Boilermate. Essentially, an indirect water heater, because you know, because the tankless coil came next, and that Taco developed and created the tankless coil, you know, and that replaced the fire pot generator, which was originally. And if you know those things we have if you've ever seen them, John and Dave, and these folks probably have seen pictures of them, but the old 2B heaters, they were cast iron shells with a copper tube inside of them, about this big, right? And that was essentially the same as an indirect water heater. It was an indirect water heater. Then we created the tankless coil and stuck them in the boilers, and that's when we created the tempering valve, the hot cold water mixing valve. Taco actually created that product along with the Leonard Valve, the two companies, but that was done to temper the water coming out of the boiler for domestic water use.
Yeah, because the tankless worked really, really well. Made really hot water.
Oh my God, yeah, and they're still out there somewhat.
Very good. All right. Let's see. There was from Bill D'Agostino. I know at some point there was talk about some new Taco products coming. Any chance we could get a little inside info?
Carol?
I'm sure there's a chance. I don't know how good of a chance it is, but you're saying there's a chance.
There's a list.
1,000 to 1, right? 1,000 to 1. There's a chance.
Yeah. The
List of them. I think there's you know, we're actually dividing up the product lines and looking at right now the growth of the next 3 years. So where do we need to be putting Bluetooth? Where do we need to go to next generation? Where do we need to jump out in front of the curve? As I love that thing tonight, by the way. I love the curves, love the curves. But where do we need to get out in front of the curve on which product line? So you're going to see across the board, we are really becoming globalized. There's some products that were being bandied around tonight, wasn't there, Johnny, that we are looking at what are we doing in Taco Italia and what are we doing here at Taco Inc. and how do we make it the next of the best, and running some prototypes. So, you know, I wouldn't even know what to call them. There's names.
well,
that
I would say, Cheryl, if I could just add on to that, because you're spot on. I think the one of the things I've noticed is, you know, you have the question's a very good one. And I don't think anybody's trying to avoid it. It's just a little hard to answer sometimes because there's two kinds of new products. One is an extension of an existing product, and the other is a completely new something that, you know, it's like, you know, like the vaccine, right? You know what I mean? It's something that you didn't even think of a year or two ago. But I have to tell you, folks, the acquisition of Taco Italia was magic. And when I look at the innovation and the product offshoots that have come since we've owned that in 4 or 5 years, that company's doubled almost in size, or not almost, it has. And a lot of that's just been their ability to have the resources to create with us new products. And we brought a lot. Look at the 0018, the 0034, the 0026. I mean, it goes on and on and on. 006. There's 100 of them out there. So that's one thing. And then, but I also am going to reach a little here and say that I think I would look for everything we're going to make moving forward will be efficient and comfort driven. So I think controls is a big part of what we'll be doing, and as is the valving, the zone valves and whatnot. Obviously circulated.
Yeah, and we're really pushing our whole vision of being the easiest company to do business with. So if we can find a way to take 12 SKUs and make it easier. I mean, we've talked to customers and say, why do I need all 5 of these, or why do I need to do this? There, we're looking at all of those kind of options. How can we make lives easier out there? How can we make better installations, better controls, to Johnny's comment? So that's exactly what we're making a focus to.
Yeah, and the other thing we're really focused on is system design, sort of innovation in the area of system operations, and our load match was really one, and then we have the chilled beam sort of interface with the load match and that stuff, and these kind of things as we move forward are going to be critically important. This whole chill beam concept and what we're doing with it fits right into the retrofit market for for COVID prevention, or for anything like that prevention, for air quality, and so we're really kind of focused on that, and that's a hard one, because if we're the only guy with a system, it's hard to sell that. I keep trying to get Armstrong and B&G and people like that to buy into some of these and go do the same thing, because I view that as a good thing, and so it's hard. But yes, I think our vision is bigger than necessarily hardware. It's concepts. It's
Yep.
System oriented as well.
Yep, and it's also focused on because what we really want to do is be able to make a promise and meet it too, and that's really taken a lot of work with the supply chain, and it's got even heavier with things going on right now. So how do we streamline? Recently we brought some parts internally and figuring out how to make them ourselves so that we can shorten that turnaround time. So those kind of things are happening as well. Anything that can shorten up response and turnaround and delivery, because everything we get is urgent and it's what we want to do tomorrow. So,
and that's where the Taco Italia circulators, the high efficiency circulators outstrip the 007, the ACs, just because they're so much simpler as a platform to work off of.
Yep. This Xanadu that we just launched, I mean, you'd probably be able to explain it far better than I would, but I watched the whole thing come together out in the unit, and what a great thing to see the simplification and the turnaround that we were able to do.
All right, cool. Now these next two, I swear we did not prompt people to ask these questions or make these. These were not setups. Seriously. First one's from Paul Silvestri. John and Cheryl, please sign John, Dave, and Rick to 6-year contracts. And then from Richard Summers, who
So he's suggesting we pull it back from the 10-year contract we just.
That's what I'm saying.
No, I don't think that's what he meant. If I had to interpret it, I'm gonna speak for Paulie here. I don't.
Paulie, come on now. Of course we got you back on that one.
And this one from Richard Sumners. The second was from Richard Sumners, who I think he's doing this to kind of make up for what he made me do last week. He suggested that I eat a peanut butter and blue cheese sandwich, a grilled peanut butter and blue cheese sandwich, which I did, and it wasn't good. I don't recommend it, but these are the things we do after dark, okay? I made a statement that you put peanut butter on anything and I'll eat it, and I think he took that as a challenge.
I see.
So anyway, he says, I've met and been trained by John and Dave and look forward to meeting Rick one day. However, my question to Johnny is, what did you see in each of them and why did you hire them? I love these questions. And here's the funny thing, Richard, he doesn't have an answer. He goes,
yeah, why did I hire them?
He asks himself that every day. Why did I hire these people?
I don't think, no, I can tell you that somehow John Barba flew in a window one day and somebody said, hire the guy, so I did. And Dave, I don't remember where you ended up here from. How? With who? Yeah, you muted there, buddy boy.
Dave's on mute. It's $20.
Oh, we're up to 20.
At night the fines double. It's like speeding in a school zone.
We only charge 5 during executive meetings.
Dave, how did you end up here?
John actually came recruiting. He gave me a call one day and was interested if I was curious as into a experimental job. At first, they were.
That's okay, and it worked out, right?
It worked out fine. Yes.
I have to tell you too. John actually, Johnny Barba actually worked with my niece Amy Given at Upinar, Wiersbo at the time, and she was just just really, she called me about you, and I think an awful lot of her. She and I are very, very good friends, and so but what a great and Dave, to that point about having an experimental job, you probably heard me over the years. I've never really referred to TACO as a company. I've always referred to it as an experiment, and because it's beaten all the odds. Everything has tried to get in front of us and stop us or kill us, or we've had every speed bump you can imagine, from competitors to product problems and everything else. But you know what? It's just been a great the engine that could. So, but you two guys and all of you guys now on the training side, it's a remarkable. I think I would absolutely say that that in my opinion, and it's my opinion, of course it would be my opinion, but I think we have the best training group in the industry. I really believe that.
Yeah. Very interesting, John leading this guy, and I think you're probably, John, I would have to put you down as one of the first promotions when I came on board. Todd was right there in front of me saying, this guy needs to rock it, and he's going to take this team to another level. But then tonight, during those awards, when we're trying to figure out which one, who to recognize, and saying, you know what, your phrase was, without, none of us could be the same without every single one of us, right? I mean, just one wasn't here. So the way you have meshed, with Rick, Dave, all of you, it's been an amazing thing to watch and a lot of fun.
Yeah, if you take Ringo out of the Beatles, they're not the Beatles anymore. And that's my team. And just for everybody out there, Dave, Rick, and I, we all worked at Upinar with Amy together. So Amy's responsible for all of us. So if you're gonna blame anybody, blame her, right?
Yeah.
Usually there's a woman behind it. There's usually a woman behind it.
Yeah, that's very true. And then we have Rich Medeiros and Brett Zerba, who are our commercial trainers. Again, just two of the the 4 of them make my job real easy. I got to tell you, because they're
that's the part of a good leader, John.
My job just to stay out of their way.
Their nature is so special. Both of those guys, it's so patient and so instructive, and Brett is my I don't know what you call this, but Brett's daughter Katie is married to my son John. So what would that make him? My sort of somehow
daughter-in-law,
something like that. Is that what it is? And so they are having a baby. Well, she's having the baby, but that's like Cheryl in the kitchen, and I'll be the maid of tea. But their baby is due in a month, almost a month yesterday, I think, or so. And
oh boy.
So a 5th generation coming through this. And then Ben, my youngest son, and his wife Kirsten are having a baby in July. So So we'll have 2 grandchildren in the 5th generation of this family in the business.
That's amazing. I mean, you just don't see that.
Like those 2 boys that we're already that are working with us, man, it's just going to be phenomenal because, you know, I've never met 2 young gentlemen that get any better than Ben and John when it comes to their hearts and their passion and the way they care about people. And they've been following right in your footsteps when it comes to TACO. It's pretty phenomenal.
It gives me hope as the only Lone Ranger, you know, that maybe the company can stay in the family and continue to, you know, with you to mentor them, Cheryl, and what you're doing with to grow and develop them. It's remarkable to watch them succeed. Really, it's so wonderful.
I have a question from a gentleman named Anand. Curious about the history and meaning of the name TACO.
So back to the question that Johnny Barber asked me a while ago, Anand, about what was our first product back when my grandfather started the company. It was the fire pot generator. And so what TACO is actually an acronym for Thermal Appliance Company, because we started off with making heaters, so thermal heaters, you know, the thermal appliances. And that's in a nutshell. That's the history of the name. Then it became a heat exchanger company back in the 40s, and making shell and tube heat exchangers. It went from the small, tankless coils to the bigger shell and tube heat exchangers, which we still make in our Fall River factory. By the way, we make a lot of those things, big ones. And that's when the name changed to TACO heaters. And in Rhode Island being Rhode Island, it's very small, it's still called TACO heaters by people, but we dropped the heaters in the late 60s or early 70s to just plain TACO Inc. And then the last CEO before Cheryl, I tried to take a little time in my own life, so I wasn't here all the time. And I showed up one day, and the sign on the building said TACO Comfort Solutions with a big green leaf. And it took me a few years to realize that cost us about $4 or $5 million to change. And by the way, you know, if you have a company and you have somebody running it and they're going to change the name, have them ask you first. Right?
It'd be nice.
But anyway, so that's how we've gotten to TACO Comfort Solutions. By the way, I think that was a good idea.
Here's a question from our man. It's a question from our man Omer out in I think Omer's in Minnesota or Wisconsin. I can't remember. Please ask the CEO if they can come out with a 0015E pump with the words on the setting that instead of saying low, it says low and slow. Instead of medium, it says happy medium, and then at high, it's called contractor no callback mode. Omer's been paying attention in class. Omer's been paying attention in class. I love it.
Omar, you know, next time you place an order, send it to me. I'll make damn sure that happens.
Sorry.
Another question from Kiefer for you. One, do you ever wear the Outlaw TACO shirt we gave to Johnny Ben and Johnny the Juniorist?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I should have worn it tonight for you, Kiefer. If I'd known you on, I would have.
Very good, very good. One question that, here we go, from Wayne Barton. Let Johnny and Cheryl know that as someone who has worked in the plumbing and heating industry for 40 years combined, TACO definitely has the best training team in the industry. It's not bragging, it's true. Well, hey, again, I didn't set these up. I really didn't.
But now we know why we've been invited, Johnny.
Well, okay, that we might have set up.
And let everybody know.
There you go. One question one story that you tell Johnny that I always love hearing is your commitment to not only keeping the company in the White family, but keeping the jobs not only in the U.S. but in Cranston. Keeping the manufacturing facility there. Describe how that's important to you and what that means.
Well, it's a lot of things, but first of all, keeping the company in the White family, or any family for that matter. I just, I always believed that, you know, we could do better for this company than anybody else could in terms of it becoming part of a big conglomerate or something like that. Because you know, in my lifetime, running and growing this company was never about hardware. It was never about products. It was never about money. It was always about the people. And it's why through good times and bad, we've always had fun, which we discussed, but we always have had fun because everything we've done has been focused on building better livelihoods for people and their families. And I've always believed that if people in the company are happy and safe, and they and their families have a tool from which they can to use to grow and prosper and have better lives, then I think everything else will happen. We'll have quality, we'll have on-time deliveries, we'll have productivity, we'll have costs and cost control and everything we need. And that's proven over the years to be absolutely true. And also financial returns, which are strong and good as a result. But you know, I can tell you, John, that I started in this company in the 70s, and then really engaged in 1980. And a lot of the people that are there were there then. We all kind of came up in the same boat. You know, this little boat rose in the same tide. And as I look back, you know, a lot of them are leaving now. But boy, I'll tell you, we've had an employee base there that is unlike any I've ever seen anywhere in the world. And I mean anywhere in the world. And I've been all over this world. Trust me when I tell you, in every country you can imagine, and places I probably should have never gone. But I've seen it all. And I've never seen a workforce like we have at TACO. So to keep it in Rhode Island, keep it in America is one thing, but to keep it in Rhode Island, well, you know, I know nothing better to do. And I will tell you this, I love that company with all my heart and soul, and does my family, and as does Cheryl. I believe that at this point, and I love it with all my heart and soul, and I'm just not willing to trade what's made it successful. And do you know something? I never went to business school. I'm not a businessman by nature. But those people, those 500 people, have given me a chance to succeed. And I think it's a damn appropriate thing to return that by loyalty to what they have. Not that simple.
And that is what it means to work for TACO. You know, that's sitting as an employee, you know, I don't feel like an employee. I feel like, you know, again, it's always sounded very schmaltzy to me throughout my lifetime. When, you know, I've worked at places where the guy says, hey, we're one big family here. And me, because I tend to engage my mouth before I engage my brain, would raise my hand and say, Dad, can I have a raise in my allowance? And usually I'm looking for another job, not too much longer after that. But in this case, you know, you have to, for everybody out there, you really have to know it and experience it to feel it. And it's unlike anything I've ever done in my life. And again, it makes me very proud that you trust me to be able to speak for your company. And you know, I look at it like, I don't ever want to let you down. That's kind of what motivates me every day.
And you never will.
Oh, shucks. We do have a question. All right, now we'll stop this. We do have a question. What of the products that TACO has produced, which one are you the most proud of?
Me?
Gotta be you. You got the history.
I gotta tell you, I eat and breathe 007s. You know, all day long. I was a big part in you know, when I was first in the business and you know, as a salesman, nobody knew what to do with me. So they created something called the OEM division, right? And that was me, just all by myself. And we had 2% market share at the time. And I took that little 007 out and sold it to the boiler guys, and after about 4 or 5 years, we had 100% of that boiler OEM market, and I've watched that thing grow from 30,000 units when I was first there to, you know, 1.5 million, and that product has been the core of everything else we've done. If you think about what fuels an engine, it's gas, right? So with all the products we have, with all the things we have going on in that company, it's all been funded, driven, and aided and assisted by the success of the 007 and the brand of the 007 all together. So I have to say that I am most proud of that. That would be honest.
How did it get the 007 name? That's always been an interesting story.
Well, I really can't, you know, so back to the why is the color green? I don't know how it got the name 007.
No, it's kind of like the bumblebee. Somebody just calls it out, and the next thing you know,
I did that. That was me. That was me. The bumblebee was me. And there's a story to that. If anybody remembers the bumblebee, we were dragging so late in product development on that damn thing that finally one day I got the guys in. I said, "What the hell's wrong with this? This is stupid. It's taking so long." Well, the problem was that they couldn't get the right plastic for the green molding for the housing. The guy said, "All I can give you is yellow." And I said, "Well, let me see that." So he gave me a yellow one, which was yellow and black. And I said, "Well, it looks like a bumblebee. Let's just call that a bumblebee," which everybody said, "Oh no, because that's gonna connote that it buzzes or something like that." Let's get the goddamn product out, okay? So we did it, and we stuck with yellow and black, and it was, and that's how we got the name Bumblebee. Anyway, so but the 007, I really can't help you with that one. You know, sometimes they allude to the fact that it had something to do with a spy, you know, but I don't.
Yeah, someone else said it had something to do with Sean Connery or Roger Moore.
Right. But the 007E, the high efficiency, I'm really proud of how Takeo is working to be on the front edge with all of the DOE requiremets and caring about our environment and our future and everything around us, and the way we do it. I mean, even now looking at air circulation, etc. So there's nothing to be shameful about on all those high efficiency items and the way that they're being run and filling up across the globe. So US will catch up with Europe. I think we will, and they'll start looking at them. But in the meantime, take us out in front, and we're, you know, those are pretty slick.
Yeah. See, Bob Clark asks, is there a solid gold 007 anywhere in Johnny's home, as in one pump to rule them all? That's an idea.
Well, I needed one gold, and I guess we can say it is. Yeah, sure. We did. Remember that when we introduced them? Oh, that was a 007E.
Yes.
We gave my father a gold-plated 007 about 30 years ago for some anniversary of some, I don't know what it was, but that's around.
100-year plates on them for a while, but I think COVID derailed everything we were planning on last year.
Yeah, for 100th anniversary, that's right.
Well, yeah. So we just pretended 2020 never happened, so we're just going to do 2021 or whatever.
We're going to celebrate again this year.
Does that mean I can be 59 again?
Huh?
Can I be 59 again?
With one more year experience.
There you go. Yes, I won't mess it up this time.
Keep the experience coming. Just hold the year.
We're going to re-celebrate our 100th, right? Because 2020 was our 100th anniversary, and we're going to re-celebrate that because you know what?
Celebrate it with the people, because we never got to. Yeah, we had the asteroid, which was just really phenomenal in all ways that I can possibly imagine. But we came back and planning to celebrate with the team as we always do, and wow. And then it was a lockdown and just do everything we could to take care of them, sending half of them, whatever. And so we got some plans. We got some plans on that front.
You know, I mean, you know me well enough to know you guys that
there'll be a party in the background.
Love a party, so find a way to have a bunch of them.
What's the reason for this one? Well, we're re-celebrating the one from last year because, you know, that didn't really, you know, let's do it again.
Let's do it again. Good party's worth repeating, right?
Yeah.
Here's from Dan Clemens. Have you ever thought about, or would there be an advantage to a variable speed pump to run at slower speeds while there's no call for heat, but run at program speeds during a call for heat, like a variable speed fan motor on an air handler furnace, thinking maybe more for in-floor heating.
Hmm.
Can you answer that?
Yeah, I think the pumps we have actually kind of do run close to that.
Yeah, that's what I thought, actually.
Yeah, but to me, I've always thought about it, when there's no call for heat, maybe the most logical thing to do would be, if it's a little pump, would be to shut it off, right? Because what's the most efficient pump on the planet?
The one that doesn't run.
Yeah, the one that's off, because it doesn't use any energy then, I mean, I know it's something kooky, crazy, and nutso that we do here in the US. When we have enough heat, we tend to shut stuff off. It's just crazy, right? Who would do such a thing? But to me, that just makes more sense than, developing a really super duper efficient pump, right? And then never shut it off. It doesn't make any sense, It's like developing the world's most efficient lawnmower. But when you're done mowing the lawn, you put it in the garage and leave it running until the next time you got to go mow the lawn. Why would you do such a thing? So
Yeah, it's
that's
been
my
really
opinion anyway.
this weather too. I mean, take New England right now. It's on, off, on, off, on, off. So, the censoring is just a whole another story.
Yeah.
So Dan, I'll answer for you there a little bit. I mean, you'll get close to that with our VT 2218.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so it's going to change as the demand changes outside. So if you're not familiar with the Delta T circulator, take a look at that. You're looking for more for in-floor heating. I have that in my house for in-floor, and it is just amazing. What you end up getting is a longer runtime out of it when it is on, and it's variable as the season changes. So it's speeding up and down as things change, and so what you have is warm floors always, not just radiant heating, but warm floors, which is great.
Is that product? That's the sort of like the stepchild of the Bumblebee, right? Essentially.
Right, yeah, Bumblebee 2.0, basically.
Yeah, exactly right. So is that an indoor-outdoor reset on that pump?
No, it's just Delta T. We sense the supply temperature and the return temperature, and it varies its speed to maintain a specific difference.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, again, the best pump out there. That's not a 007.
Yeah, I know. I heard you say that before, and when you were interesting.
Very good. A couple of guys are signing off out there, but we had from Gabriel says, exceptional evening, very inspiring and motivating. Delightful to hear so many good and beautiful things about TACO and its people. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Gabriel, we've got your messages. We're following up. We'll talk to you soon.
Very good. And Stanley Hill says, Johnny, thank you for allowing John, Dave, and Rick to do what they do. I've used TACO University in these webinars. Thank you. Very good. And Glenn Schmidt says, OE is the best pump ever.
That's what I was gonna say. The diehard. I like that efficiency, man. I think we got a new wave there. We're working on that in all sorts of different ways.
Yeah, Cheryl, I got a question for you. I mean, you've been involved in organizations that regarding women in the trades. Are you seeing more women? I would say we see just from on social media, I see a lot more women in the trades that are owning their own companies, are out there working in a traditionally male business. How is that working, and how is that? I mean, how's it been for you? And what are you seeing as trends out there?
So just so we're clear, almost everything used to be a male-dominated business, right?
Well,
yeah. Doctors and lawyers and plumbers and heaters and constructions and anything else, and definitely in the manufacturing world, and especially in automotive where I came from. So, but I have been aligned up with Judy and the women in energy, the women of in this industry. There's really some strong women foundations in this world, and I love it. There's women out there helping women, mentoring women, and I go to some of our customers, and they've all got young women coming up through and helping to mentor them, and I went to a few of the in fact, I think it was at a Hershey trade show, and they had one of the women in energy had a show, and there was a panel of women, and one was running an entire group of plumbers in New York. I thought, whoa. but she just started out as a tradesman and just handled herself. And she was and you know, I said, why aren't more women plumbers? Why aren't there more women in the trades world? Why aren't there more women thinking about these jobs? They're good jobs and they're strong jobs and they're respected. And I think it's really working that way. Why? Because they're being accepted. They really are being accepted. I mean, and maybe it's the mentality of the men in this industry. I've always said that automotive was more of a dog eat dog, cutthroat kind of industry, whereas and I've been so welcomed everywhere we went, probably partly because I'm standing next to Johnny White, but also the fact that there doesn't seem to be any secondary thoughts or discrimination or prejudice in any way. It's welcome, glad to have you here, and all thoughts like that. And young, I see young, I see women, I see, it doesn't make any difference. There's just no discrimination. You want to work, you want to get passionate, you want to care about people, this is where you go. And it doesn't make any difference. So I've been very, very proud to be in this world.
Hey, Cheryl.
Go ahead, Rick.
Richard had a question that kind of segues right into that. He's wanting to know about your background. What were you doing before you came with TACO?
So just go all the way back. I'm a farm girl from Michigan. So my dad would tell you that I learned all of my ethics, and my mom right back there too, but on how to work hard and what it meant to work as a team on a farm. But I started at General Motors 37 years ago, downtown Detroit. When you talk about women industry, I was the only female white gal in the entire building Cadillac Bromes, downtown Detroit, 37 years ago as a supervisor in the paint shop. So I've worked for Mazda, Ford, Lear Corporation. I bounced around and ended up down in Mexico, now running a plant by that point of 3,500 people. And in Mexico, so you want to talk about women that are leading plants, that's not happening. It's not happening. And in Lear Corporation, when they took us public, I was the only woman executive in the group of all of them. So so I come from that, and then I came out here with a little company called Hope Global, small textile automotive supplier also. And that's when I got to meet Johnny. I mean, I think that's been 22 years ago, right, Johnny? We were finding ourselves, we were both running manufacturing operations with a lot of people, just became friends at one board or another, and talking about the workings of taking care of people. You're launching your training operation, and so we started there. But took Hope from 30 million, I think, when I walked in, to 150 when I walked away, through two major depressions and the total shakeup and a couple floods that we won't even talk about because I hate the F word. But we kept talking about this dream team partnership. And I think it was in 18. He said, "That's it, time's up." Get over here.
That's true. Exactly.
It is actually, I think there was a whiskey involved in that.
Yeah, I sat her down in someplace and said, "Okay, you know what? Jig's up.
So we're not talking about it anymore.
Give you notice tomorrow and be here on Monday." Well, didn't quite work out that way, but it was a month or so.
Yeah, it was. So I worked all over the world. I ran operations. We talk about the people at TACO in Rhode Island. Holy smokes, we have an amazing group that is really linking from Italy, Zurich, Czech Republic, out to California, Texas, boys. They're down there building those ag pumps, and so it's it's just been amazing climbing on board with this group, and looking forward to what we can do together.
Very good. Got one from John. Got a question? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm an automotive rat in all manufacturing, all shop floor. That's where it goes.
This is from John Taroni III. I think you're familiar with John. Do you have any advice for the younger generation of contractors and technicians in this industry? I'm dealing with younger individuals within my travels, and I would like to know from people who have been immersed within the industry, such as yourselves.
Johnny's had some experience. One of his recent passions is the millennials. And when you pass somebody that's at 9 o'clock and they're just coming in, and it's like, oh, traffic was terrible. I don't know which way to, trying to find the route, and the route is getting up earlier. That's the route.
Yeah, it's a different, but it's a good question, because if you've got people that are getting into the trade, which I think I think it's become fashionable for people to look at trades again, because because of there seems to have been I don't want to say a drop off, but it seems to me that there's less demand for people to run off to college just because they're supposed to. There's people that are actually, a lot of interesting stories that I've helped tried to create a situation here in Rhode Island where we support kids going into the trade out of high school, or instead of going to college, where they can immediately be earning money, but also if they're in a company like mine or in a trade, we'll educate them at the same time. So you can have best of both worlds. But I don't know what to say to that, because we are dealing with a different generation. For the last 40 years, if a guy showed up at work, I don't care where or what he was doing. If he showed up, let's say we hired an engineer and he showed up 40 years ago, and you could sit him at his desk and say, have a good career. And 40 years later, he'd say, thank you for the career, and I'm retiring today. And what?
At the same desk. And still have.
Yeah. And it's different now, because people seem to think they should be in my office if they started last week. You know what I mean? And so it's a little bit tricky. I haven't figured it out myself, but I think, John, John Tirone, to mentor these, it's about working hard. I don't know what to say. Cheryl, you're better. You're a little more in touch than I am with that, maybe.
So I gave a graduation speech not so long back, and I talked about those kind of things, right? But the working hard, that doesn't mean walking in the door at 8 o'clock. It doesn't mean walking out the door at 5. So sometimes you're going to find it. There's some innate in a lot of people, but one thing Johnny hit on, it's really very key. Everyone is, I think the younger generation these days are constantly wanting to learn. They're just driving to learn. And so you need a career path. You need a development. And when we're sitting here, I mean, Todd, I don't know if he's still on here, but we're working on how do you go from tech services, learn the field, learn here. What is the path in all of these opportunities to actually learn, and throw a guy out on the floor? Look at Ben, Ben out there right now on in the operations, learning that, and John 3 coming in the ground, and now he's got a team that he's running North American OEM. So there's got to be a path. They want to know where they're going. They're not ready to sit back and wait for it to happen. So if I could say one thing, it's that you need to be able to sit down with them on a regular basis, not once a year, on a regular basis, talking about what are they doing, right? What do they need to work on, and what are the opportunities, and teach these guys that they are as responsible for their growth as their bosses are. Yeah. Because
that's very true.
I mean, you need to, I've told more than one, you got an evaluation that you didn't like, you didn't understand. Okay. So take a week, come back and say, well, then I've been thinking about these things, and this is what I'm going to do about what you said. And I want to know if you agree with the plan. And then go 3 months later and say, so this is the things I've been working on. How do you feel about it? And then come back and talk some more. So the teaching that it goes 2 ways, they don't get to just sit back and wait for the next promotion, and they don't get to sit back and wait for the review, that they are as responsible for their development and career, which is what they want. They want to learn and grow. They want to learn and grow faster than we did.
John Tirone, I would suggest this too. If you can ever figure out how to tap into some of the people that have been on,
or call us when you figure it out.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you can figure out how to tap into some of the people that have been on this call tonight. I think you said Dave Yates was on, and Kiefer's on, and these are fine folks who have a lot of experience with this, John, and they're probably doing it every single day. you know, or have in some part in their career mentored or developed or helped, I'd try to reach out to John and Dave and Rich and whatnot. They probably could help connect you with some of the people that are involved in this community here to help you with this, because it's a great question, and phew, it's a tough one.
I got an 11 and 14-year-old, and it starts real young. It starts real young because they go through, and this what COVID has done to some of the younger generation of how they're struggling to learn and what they think are right and wrong, and they're like, why should we get excited about anything? It can change tomorrow. You know, the controls, and I just really think some of the younger, they just really want to see their path. But
There's a response from Kenya Clay, who says, as someone in the younger generation, I appreciate that response. So it was dead on. Dave Yates, who's also out there, who's ready and willing and able to help you out there, John Taroni, says, show up early, stay late, and work your ass off. Plus learn to get ahead and attain success. I think that's a fairly simple formula right there.
And it's a damn good one.
Yep.
it is.
Coming from an old man, I can tell you,
Yep.
that's what got a lot of us where we got.
That's all there is.
You can't come early, stay late, and work your ass off.
That's it. Because it's not, if you look at it as an opportunity as opposed to a job, it's a very different dynamic.
Yeah.
Listen more than you talk. Listen, there are so many. I mean, just think about all these, you know, the ton of people are on this call, so much smarter than I could ever think about in this world. But just sit and listen. It's just overwhelming. It's amazing.
There you go. George Pirelli says, show up on Lombardi time if you understand the saying.
Yeah, well, you know what? And by the way, George Pirelli is another one of my favorite people on the planet Earth. He's a good man. I'm glad he's on here.
This
good.
industry's full of them.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
We had 2,000 at our last 100-year party, and my gosh, I think everyone goes back ages and ages.
Steve Whelan says, I love Takeo and I'm proud to have them as an OEM partner. Wheels is another guy who's been in this business forever, who someone to tap for advice. Wheels is one of the best. So, you know.
Yep.
And Jim Tamblyn says, if you don't want to know everything about your job, find another one.
There you go. That's well said. Really well said.
Yep, that's it. It's I would say you got to have, no matter how long you've been doing something, you know, to me, it's like there's always, if you don't wake up wondering what can I do today that's new and different, you know, you're going through the motions, you know,
being happy to go to work, right?
Yeah.
You're not happy. I think the happy people do the best.
Yep.
They really do the best because they're excited, they're anxious, they're ready to go, and they're, you know, loving life. And those are the ones that are the happiest.
As my dad used to tell me, it's what you learn after you know it all that really counts. I didn't use those words. It was a little more colorful language on his part, but usually followed by, I swear to God, we got the wrong baby at the hospital, but that's that's where it is. We still have 123 people on. We peaked at 200, but we're now down to 130 people still on.
I have stuff to give away still.
Oh, Dave's been waiting patiently. He's got prizes to give out.
Yes, I still gotta get rid of stuff here. So I've been tallying up the numbers.
That's why they're still on the phone.
Yeah. I know Paulie Silvestri's ready to get another beer, he says, so.
Get me one, Paulie. Thanks, man.
Oh, Amy must be on here. Amy? Let's take a look. You just sent me a text, looking good, but where is your green? Let me tell you where my green is, Amy. It's in my blood.
No.
My green is inside. I look terrible in green.
Hey, Johnny.
What?
Johnny, this is John Masonbrick. I'm just.
Hey, John, how are you?
Good. I've just been kind of listening on to the whole thing. I join these guys every Wednesday night, and you touched on something earlier about accessibility, and that's what we love about you guys. is that you're so accessible to everyone with the parties, at the trade shows, to allow John, Dave, and Rick to do these things every Wednesday night. And from the feedback we get, people just love it. And just want to thank you for everything. And if I could toot my horn just a bit, we did a podcast with you called Not Dead Yet, and people can go find it and listen to it. And we also did a podcast with John, Dave, and Rick a few weeks ago too. So if you want to find that and listen to it, a lot of the questions that were asked, we asked you, John, and the John and Dave and Rick as well. So, but thanks again for everything. Like John said, there's 130 people on here after 2 hours of yapping. So they love you. And I don't know if it's because they're giving away stuff, but I just wanted to chime in and say hi.
Hey, John, are you still riding?
Yeah, a little bit. I have young kids. I have twins that are 13, so I kind of put it on pause for a bit.
I got three of these things. So when you're out here sometime, we'll do that.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, and I was gonna say maybe the next time we have Ben and John on, and
that'd be great.
we can talk about the business and talk about how they they're kind of a younger generation and how they deal with that younger generation as well. So
yeah, two things, John. You also ought to, if I may, just I shouldn't butt myself into your business, but you might want to do one with Cheryl too on the women in industry thing.
Yeah,
it's really she's got that tiger with a tail. And the other thing is that my two boys, on the subject of coming up in the world here, came up at a lot of their lives with my father still alive. So if anybody, probably nobody knew my father, but that wasn't one to mess around with in terms of ethics and work,
Mm-hmm.
So they grew up in that sort of. So there's some history involved in people's evolution in their careers too.
Right on. Well, thanks again. I'm gonna jump off here and let Dave do his magic.
Yeah. I've taken up too much of everybody's time too.
Never, not at all. I mean, and I do have to say, thank you, to allow John and I and Rick and Brett and Rich to have that place for us to talk all the time. With the IDC at the factory, and for us to do what we do out on the road, it is truly a pleasure. I was just having this discussion with my wife the other day, and she has said this job it's not what you do, it's what you are. Which is just, and I think that's why you will allow us to become what we are, instead of having to fit into a mold also at the same time. So it's been truly a blessing to be here.
You guys just define it, by the way. This is not a script. This is nothing we tell you to do. This is nothing that we work out for you and say, here's your job description. You guys went into a room and said, this is what I think we need to do in 2020. So everybody's really clear out there. There's no written here are the programs, or here's how they go. These guys come up with it, they develop it, they put together the training plans, they think about what they believe you're really listening to, they listen to what you're asking, and they develop more stuff. So if it's what you are, I mean, it's because that's what you defined. You guys have brought it out, and you really listen. I love how you have tailored everything like this.
Thank you. Alrighty, I guess we should give some stuff away.
Can I say one thing about Mr. Messenbrink first, just before you do that? Just the way this whole thing started is John and I were both thinking the exact same thing in completely different places without even talking to one another about doing something like this. And then he called me real early on when we went into shutdown on the pandemic. And he said, what do you think about doing some kind of webinars? And I think, geez, you're reading my mind. Here's what I'm thinking. And he goes, well, that's exactly what I'm thinking. And then that's how Takeo After Dark was born. And so hats off to John for that kind of forward thinking. And this is something that's just taken on a life of its own. So it's what we look forward to on Wednesday nights.
That's great.
Thanks, John. I really appreciate that. We love working with you guys, and I'm glad you said that instead of something else that we talked about off air. I thought you were going to bring something totally else up, but
Well,
Thanks
what-
again.
Now you've got me thinking, what the heck
No,
was
I'm
that?
just joking. I'm just joking with you.
Oh, Lord.
All righty, Dave, you ready?
Yeah.
I am ready.
If you're gonna
I am
do,
ready.
if you're gonna
So-
be giving away things, Dave,
Yes, sir.
if you're gonna be giving away things, would it be like really rude of me to, I've been going since 7 this morning, so is Cheryl, I think. I am just whoopered.
And I got another starting off at 7 in the morning again with you. So I'm gonna let you all go. It was great. Thanks for the invitation. Invite us
Yeah.
back.
Thank you all very, very much. It's been really great to be here.
Awesome. Thank you for being with us. It's always a pleasure. And I can't wait till we see each other again and get back to hugging.
For sure, for sure.
Indeed.
Really, really close. Hang
I
tight.
gotta be reminded how to do that.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out. It's like riding a
They can
bike.
pick it up pretty quick.
Johnny
guys.
got his first vaccine on Tuesday. I'm getting mine on Sunday. We highly encourage. We can't wait until we're all back to a normal level that we can do what we're saying. All right. So take care. Be safe, everybody.
Bye, guys. Bye, everybody.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Take care.
I got mine set up on Thursday.
I'm still at nothing in the works for me yet.
Yeah.
I'm not
No,
old
not in New
enough
Hampshire.
yet.
Yeah.
And-
I'm just a
and-
mess up in the inside here, so they allow me to do it in New York.
Oh,
now,
there
so.
you go. Well, I've got to say to the remaining people in here, thank you for the questions and comments, especially the ones that said we were doing a great job. You're all winning prizes as far as I'm concerned. Dave, ship them all out.
Okay, all right. So I took a look at all the numbers that came in, and we did have a couple of tight fights in there. We had the number one percentage was 38%. The second one behind that, it was at 31%. Then we were at 30%. So it was a tight race in there. There was a lot of good tips and tricks that came in from everybody. But the one that came in at the 38%, whoops, wrong button over here, was David Coulombe. Right, read the free manual. All right. So yes, everybody, you know what? They still believe in passing that along. So congratulations, Dave. I will contact you. Email me tomorrow. I know, or give me a call, because I know you and I have to talk about something you wanted to talk to me about last week, and I traded emails, and so give me a call tomorrow, and so we can discuss that, and so I can send you out your stuff back here, and I can get it out of my office. So, all right, congratulations, Dave. Awesome, good to see you.
Hey, Dave,
Yes.
does that mean we can't go to sleep tonight?
For what reason?
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Ah, that's right.
There he is.
Yeah, and both Dave Yates and George Burley says they thought that people think that the manual is something you use as a knee pad.
Knee pad, yep.
Yeah. Now, here's one. Richard Summers says, my old boss said to me once after he saw it open on site, throw that thing in the garbage.
It's amazing. It's amazing. There's a lot of work go into those things. I know we've got
Right.
teams of people that work on them. You know, it goes from desk to desk to desk, and everybody has something to add to it and put work into it. So a lot of stuff goes into those things. So take advantage of them.
Got a curiosity, what were second and third place?
Second was Jim Tamblyn with the troubleshooting and the keep it simple, stupid. Right? You know, check the power, check the gas, you know, all those other things. It's not normal, you know, it's got that. And number 5, what was number 5? Do heat loss.
Do heat loss. There you go.
Do the heat loss, you know, and trust the numbers. Yeah. So that was number 3. Yep.
Very good. There's Douglas Speck says, when I first started, an old guy threw a hammer at me for reading the manual.
I guess that's why
That's
we all have
abuse.
to come back to them now, right? Yeah.
Mm. Now give the kids the books, they eat the pages. Well, my dad said the same thing about me, I'll tell you what. All righty. Well, great. Hey, what a great 2 hours and 14 minutes. And like I said, as always, we'll stay on as long as you guys have questions. This was a great way to finish off the season, the winter session. It's starting to get nice outside. We're into daylight savings time now. We've settled on some dates to start the next session. We're going to start on June 14th, right? June 14th, and it's going to be the 10-week. I'm sorry.
April.
Did 14th. I say June?
You said June.
I said June. I meant April. Thank you. Very good.
Ending in June.
We're starting April 14th and we're ending in June, 10 weeks later. There we go. And again, it will be the Arteco factory training class broken up into 10 1-hour sections. So since we can't have the class at the factory, we're going to bring the class to you on Wednesday night. So we're going to start with part 1 and go all the way through part 10. And that will be starting on June 14th. We'll get that posted on our website. We'll get emails out to everybody. So that's going to be again just a 10-week journey through hydronics heaven. I think we're going to have such a good time, and so that's going to start in June.
No, not June. John wants to take a 4-month vacation right now. He just
right. I've been drinking too much seltzer here. Sparkling water. Here we go. On New Year's Eve. No, St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah. 4 weeks time. Yeah, 4 weeks time. April, middle of April.
There we go.
You'll see the emails and the social media and all that other jazz out there. You'll get the info on it. It'll be up on the website too at the same time to register for the classes. So always look for that. Yeah, he's looking for. Yeah, I don't know if he's looking for the Speedo there. He's just looking for more links. Getting out there on the.
You might see me in a Speedo. All you got to do is wrap a rubber band around a pair. You got it. Okay, that's what it'll look like. So. There's a visual you don't need there, David.
Heavy on the buzz.
Yeah, there we go. And just don't need any more experimental sandwiches. Well, Tim Davis suggested, what did he say? Let me text here. Tim Davis suggested try peanut butter and yellow mustard. I don't know if that's just a dare to see if I'm stupid enough to try it, or if it's actually a thing. I don't know. And a good night to Mr. McGrath. Always good to see you, my friend. And we had some green tea. Does green tea count for St. Patrick's Day? Why the heck not? Why the heck not? All righty. Well, cool. Hey, well, any of you guys left that have any more questions? Please shout them out. And but if not, we'll stay on as long as you guys want to hang, and then we'll call it a night. But from Colin, thank you and your team for all you've done. Can't wait for what comes next. Thank you very much, Colin. I appreciate that. Thanks for the great content, says Todd Raymond. I think they're pulling your leg on the mustard and peanut butter. I think so. I hope so. Okay. All right, Ferris is always good at bringing in those last minute questions that actually mean something. Let's go to Ferris here. I did service today for 2 tankless water heaters, and they have a circulator pump, and they do have a swing check valve installed in the vertical position with the arrow going down. Is that acceptable? Because I know they must be installed in a horizontal line only. Question. Okay, swing check or spring check? I want to make sure we're talking about the right stuff. Ferris, if you
he did say swing.
Okay, yeah. He did say swing. Okay.
Yeah, so swing should always be horizontal, correct?
Yeah.
A spring check you can put on the vertical pipe. So whether it's going up or down with a swing check, yeah, it should be horizontal. Now you don't want gravity to affect the check at all. Yeah.
He said, yeah, he said confirmed it is a swing check. So. Okay, if that's how they installed, if that was that installed by the tankless water heater, or was it installed? Was it part of the installation after the fact? It was an add-on. Okay, so yeah, that's not right. If it is a swing check, it does have to be horizontal, or it doesn't do anything really.
They tend to make noise too, you know, even in the horizontal position. So a lot of people just kind of naturally gone to a spring loaded with like a Teflon seat or something that's a little less noisy out there.
Mhm.
The other thing, when they were first shipping swing checks, they actually used to put a little piece of, some of you old folks will remember this, they used to put a little piece of sponge in there when they shipped it. And some people forgot to take the sponge out. And it worked so good, especially when you soldered them, you know, and you melted all the stuff inside there. So anyway,
Then you get to
craziness
buy
does
another swing
happen.
check.
Yeah.
Very cool. Ryan McKernan wants to talk recirc and pumps and plugs, baby. You just want to start it all up again, don't you, Ryan? Ryan is a regular on our Monday night. Here, if some of you guys are still on, don't know this. On Monday nights, we do just Dave and I do live office hours on Instagram. So it's Instagram Live on Monday nights at 7, and those are going about an hour and a half to 2 hours, easy. You know, if you're on Instagram, you can go to the Takeo Comfort page or Takeo Comfort account, and they're all stored there. It's on, you know, the IGTV thing. It's so that all the ones we've done in the past, they're all stored there. You can go back and watch them. But we have great conversations. You know, those things go on and on and on. And we've had how many did we have on? How many people did we have on, Dave? And how many viewings
We
have
had
we had
about,
since we did it?
last week we had about 117 on live with us, and we end up, you know, there's usually around 200 to 300 that watch it afterwards. So if you guys are on Instagram, make sure one, you follow Takeo's page, because I take over their account and do the live stream from there, not from my personal account, which is Takeo Training, and I invite John in. But what you should also do is make sure you subscribe to Takeo's page. So this way, when we do go live, you'll get a notification on your device that we are live. We are trying to schedule it, meaning Mondays, 7 p.m. Eastern. So come on by anytime after that. And what we mean by office hours is just ask questions. You know, we're doing the office. Imagine, you know, you walk by and you're on your way to the coffee machine, to the water cooler, and you see John and I sitting in an office, and you just lean in and just start talking, or you have a question about something. So we want to make sure we're available for you guys when you get done with work for the day, for the questions, for what you experienced during the day or what you have coming up the next day. So please take a look at it. You know, stop by, make sure you follow Takeo on Instagram. It's only on Instagram that we're doing this on Monday nights.
Yeah, we tried it on Facebook and it just didn't quite have the same pizzazz.
I think maybe because it was the timing that we had too.
Yeah, we had it in the afternoon too, which was not quite the same thing. We're learning there's an audience and an appetite for this kind of stuff at night. As the 69 of you who are still on know quite well. Here's a question from Frank, mentioning the sponge. I had just installed a 007 that had a sponge on one end. Do they normally install the sponge on both ends? A 007 that's sponge worthy. What is that all about?
That I know of. Never seen that. So maybe I'll defer to you folks on the East Coast where the factory's at, because I've never seen it. So.
Not at all.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either.
Yeah, if there was something in the volute on the discharge of the circulator, yeah, I don't believe so. I've never even seen them come from the casting manufacturer that way.
Yeah,
you know, from the foundry. We don't put any sponges out there, so that could have just been a weird aberration.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
Took it out.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be there. There we go. Maybe it was putty. Somebody got the reference. Thank you, Richard. Somebody got the reference.
I got it.
You got it too. Okay, good. Just slowly, but we got it.
It was sitting there ringing in the back, and I didn't know where it was. Yes.
Does the new 10-week course cover using a heat exchanger in a forced fan system? The biggest question I get is how to use hydronics and also have air exchanges and filtration. Okay, that's something maybe we can throw in there. You know, I mean, air-to-air heat exchanger is always something we can discuss, and using a hot water coil, I guess, for hydro air. Right, that's the system I had in Minnesota. You know, I had a hydro air system with radiant floor in the lower level, and that worked out fantastic. So, and that had built-in air-to-air heat, air-to-air exchanges too. So we can certainly discuss that. I think it's probably worth adding to the curriculum. Joe Finale says, was it possibly protecting it when it gets painted? Because we don't really protect those things when they go through the paint line. It's just they just go on a hook and out they go. There's nothing, you know, it doesn't really get inside. So
Right. And now on the E-pumps, we paint the inside too. We're trying to do more of a coating than a painting to try to minimize some of the rust that may occur in a system. So, and we do that with the new E-pumps because we don't have to paint it. It's all injection molded. So we don't end up painting an E-circulator anymore. So we paint the casings, the castings before they get assembled. Whereas in a standard 007s, it gets painted after the fact. The only thing I know that we, so to speak, cover is if it's a bronze sweat circulator, we actually have rubber plugs that go on the ends when we go to paint them. And those are typically brown. We wouldn't, they're not green at all. They're the brown, the tan color circulators that we do. But the ends right at the very discharge, supply and return of the circulator, we have a rubber cap that we put on and we take off. So yeah, I haven't seen a sponge installed anywhere. Hopefully it wasn't an eBay circulator.
Yeah, because you never know what's going to happen there. That's right. Cool. All right, well, guys, what other questions do we have here? Anything left? A heated ventilation area. Yeah, I guess that's, you know, we're talking about one of those air-to-air heat exchangers when you temper the incoming air when you're doing your indoor air quality. Which, in my estimation, Rick, I'd hear your opinion on this. A lot of people ask, well, how do you factor, when you're calculating a heat loss and you're doing infiltration heat loss, how do you factor in your air-to-air heat exchanger for ventilation? How does that impact the infiltration heat loss?
So sometimes the software will actually have something where you can say it's a HRV or an ERV, and under a design condition, not the design condition for heating, but the design condition for the HRV up to a certain point, down to a certain point, it'll give you an efficiency. Let's say it's, 40%. Well, that you can deduct that off the infiltration rate. So, not to get into the weeds, but it's going to better state your infiltration so it's not as high. It gives you a reduction in your heat load based on that portion of the calculation. That's what I remember from doing them from Alaska. We did a lot of HRVs and ERVs up there, and that's how it would help. When I moved to the lower 48, they just weren't getting it, at least where I was at in the Rocky Mountains. So I know they use them. I know they're still sold out there. I just, I kind of lost that end of things when I moved to the lower 48. So.
The way I've always looked at it, and the way I've heard you explain it before as well, is you are mechanically controlling your infiltration. Really, it's a
controlled environment.
Yeah, so it's going to reduce the infiltration heat load.
Yeah,
as you just said, it's going to reduce the infiltration heat load. And how do you calculate for that? For me, I just don't. I just calculate my infiltration heat loss normally and figure I'm fine. The infiltration is going to be overstated anyway. This is if you are at all worried about fudge factor. This is that'll be one of the biggest pieces of fudge that you've ever seen. All right. I mean, it's peanut butter fudge with frosting, walnuts, and you name it built in. I mean, that's a big old slice of fudge right there.
It has a lot to do with the envelope design, right? How tight are they building that envelope? If they are truly sealing all the seams and doing everything they should as it relates to building science, you'll have a really low infiltration rate. Yeah. And if you're using that kind of information in your load calculation, it's going to show up that way. So,
as we said in the very first class that we're going to do in the new series is going to be on heat loss. We're going to show you how to do a heat loss. And one of the things about infiltration is we'll use the IBR method for calculating heat loss, which is the same math as anybody else's heat loss. It's the same math formula. They just use different assumptions. One of the assumptions they make has to do with infiltration. And the infiltration factors that they give you are based upon a 25-mile-an-hour wind blowing in all 4 directions at the same time. I've been on this planet 60 years. I ain't never seen the wind blow in all 4 directions at the same time. I haven't seen that yet. So you are covered. I mean, again, there's a lot of fudge there anyway. If there's an HRV or an ERV, then you're covered double in terms of fudge factor. You know, so that's just
Hey,
the way it is.
Ryan has something here. I'd like to throw it back at Ryan. Maybe he's saying, how do you feel about internal checks, RIFCs? Every single pump that comes with one of those, I pull them out with a flathead, so he's breaking them out, I guess, and I prefer to use a cast iron flow check. Well, Ryan, if you're accounting for the additional pressure drop of what that cast iron flow check gives you, you can do that. But my question to you would be, you know, we sell millions of these that are working just fine. Why are you taking them out?
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess. Well, yeah. Well, how do you feel about them?
Yeah.
For us, they've worked fine. They
Yes.
have definitely worked fine. They're little things that pop up all the time in terms of maybe trap and air or things like that you got to deal with anyway. But in terms of their performance, they've proven to be fairly reliable. But if you prefer to use a cast iron flow check, you know, we sell those too, and we're happy to sell those to you. I mean, absolutely. But as Rick said, there is a little bit of additional pressure drop.
Little bit.
Well, a lot more pressure drop through a cast iron flow check than there is through an IFC. So as long as you're accounting for it, you know, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Really, I think one's not gonna stop flow from going the wrong way better than the other.
Yeah.
You know, they're both going to do the job. It's just a matter of really what's your preference and account for the pressure drop.
I mean,
Richard
I know
Summers,
I have a feeling for why he does it, and I run into it quite often in my neck of the woods also. And it's usually when you have maybe a 3-zone cast iron boiler, you come right off the boiler, and you come out, you come straight up out of the cast iron boiler, you run a speedy header up there, and the first circulator usually gets a little jammed up with air. So because you're putting all the circs in, pointing like this. Okay, and that first circulator will sometimes get air trapped behind the check valve. All right, which happens. So then if you experience that happening more often, double check what's going on with your air elimination, the pitch of the pipe, things like that. But a lot of times it's the first one that happens, and the guys will pop these out and put an external flow check in, because now I've got this much pipe that can hold the air that may residually occur, because we do a lot of installs, hopefully in the summertime, and we purge, but we don't really purge. I mean, the best way to purge is to really get that boiler up hot for at least 4 hours and running, to really get all that residual air out of the system itself. So spring, then the fall comes along and it's been sitting off, and all those little air bubbles have slowly escaped and end up behind the check valve and burn out the circ. If you got the ECM in there, you got the air purge in there, so hopefully going to pull that out. So I see where he's going in that way, and just from experience, say, hey, pop those out, put the external in. That's fine too. Do what you like with it. Exactly right.
Very good. Richard Summers asks, when you worked at Wurzbo, did you go to the dog track or the piano bar in the Mall of America? Well, that was the Canadians thing. What we did, all right, for our weekend classes, we would go to the Mall of America, and they had NASCAR simulators, and we would spend the evening there doing races against each other, which I usually won because I did great wheel work. But we had dinner brought up there, and we had the place to ourselves for Friday night. Then on Saturday night, we would go to a little nightclub called Bogart's for a karaoke evening. And usually when guys walk in there, they'll look at this and say, you expect us to sing karaoke? There ain't enough beer in the state of Minnesota for me to get up there and sing karaoke. Well, it turned out that there was. And we'd get some memorable nights of guys getting up there and singing songs that, doing things that they wouldn't normally do at home. Let's put it that way.
Just add liquor.
Just add liquor and get out of the way.
What was best about that, though, in my view, is after that was all over, we went into the watch the band, and they had some
Yes.
really good bands in Minneapolis. So
Oh,
I
God, yeah.
perched myself right on. They call it kind of like I think they call it the meat rack,
Mhm.
and you just sit right there above the dance floor, and the band's right here to the right. All the people are dancing out front, and I just sit there and have a great time enjoying watching some really good musicians. So
Yep. We saw the
they
Marshall
have
Tucker
guests.
Band there one night.
Who?
The Marshall Tucker Band one night. Yeah.
I saw one of the singers. He's not the only one. They've had several, but one of the singers of Toto, Freddie Frigrickson, was actually a local Minneapolis guy, and he was there. Guy had a set of pipes like crazy, but anyway, I remember watching a lot of that and enjoying the hell out of myself. So
Yep.
anyway, good times.
Terry
Those were
Turner
before
remembers an
me.
evening with Lewis Black. Yes, for a while we did go to a comedy club at the mall called Knuckleheads, and I remember Lewis Black performing there. Brian Regan we saw. A lot of comics that you've actually heard of. We actually, that you've heard of. We would go see. It was really those are good times. Those were really good times. Long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Yep.
Piano
That's-
bar. Yeah.
And just before I got there.
Yeah, as soon as you got there, Dave, we stopped having
We
fun
stopped having
altogether.
And we
And
started
Rick
doing
and I remember
go-karts. Then we got
Go-karts?
real go-karts. Yes.
yeah, we would do go-kart racing. I remember that. And Rick, I remember you and I on several karaoke duets. We did some Allman Brothers, Hamilton, Joe Frank, and Reynolds. You remember that one?
Don't pull your love out on me.
Don't
honey.
pull your love out on me, baby. If you do, then I
Yeah.
think that maybe I'd lay me down and cry for 100 years.
Sing it.
No, those days are gone. Oh man. Anyway, Anthony says that's where he threw up. When you heard us sing, or was it at the go-karts? I don't remember. What was my go-to song for karaoke? Well, I would start when I would get up and sing. It was either 60-Minute Man. That was a big one for a while. What was it? Jay Giles song? Angel is the Centerfold. Those were my two go-to songs to start. Then there'd be other ones that I would sing and probably shouldn't have. So those are the days, man. Those were the days.
Amazing.
Yep.
Just to think about it.
And I can remember Ingrid Mattson getting up, and she was Gladys Knight, and myself and someone would be the Pips, and we do Midnight Train to Georgia, which was another special experience.
She had a great voice too.
Yeah.
She could have done it for a living.
I think you're right. Yep. I think you're right. All righty, gang. Good night, Kenya. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
See you in the next series. I think it's probably time, guys. What do you think?
It's
Yeah, I
call
don't
it.
see anything too technical coming in. I think everybody's pretty wiped out from their corned beef and cabbage and a couple
I
of green
wish.
beers. And yeah,
Some
I had mine tonight. I put mine on at 9:30 this morning, so it was good right before class started. It was quickly chow it down because I got to get this stuff done. Yeah, Rich says, "What am I going to do next week?"
Yeah,
I
boy, I
maybe
don't
talk
know.
to your
Right?
wife. Yeah.
Interact with the family. I don't know. Hey, that's the way it is. Hey, guys, gang, thank you so very much for being with us the last 6 weeks as well as tonight. What a great evening with Johnny and Cheryl. Like I said, the special people, and without getting too emotional, it does. I'm sure I'm speaking for Dave and Rick, but they can also speak for themselves. It does make it, not really a job, but it's a purpose. And you working for TACO is you've got to experience it to really understand it. It's not like any place else I've ever been.
That's right. We have a comparison, right? We've all worked other places,
Mhm.
and to work for somebody now that where it's completely different and better, and we just attest to it. So that we're counting our blessings.
Absolutely, absolutely. So again, thank you all. We do appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing you next month, April 14th, Dave. I got it right that time. And may the blue cheese be with you. You and the
Yeah.
blue. We'll see you next time, Richard, Wayne, Terry. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Later.
everybody. See you in a couple of weeks or so. That's right. And tell your friends.
Tell your friends. And even
Tell
the
your
people you don't like
Even
all
if they're
that
not
much,
in the
have them come
industry,
too.
maybe they
Tell
want
you
to
all
come.
about it.
Yeah. Maybe they want to join the industry eventually. So yeah. So get some new people in here. Get the young bloods.
Yeah.
Yep. And Mondays are still on, Joel. Yes, we're still doing Mondays. We'll be doing Mondays
Still gonna do Monday.
forever.
And Taco Tuesdays are still gonna run also. Yep.
Yep.
So that schedule is gonna stay the same as Taco Tuesdays. The afternoon sessions at 12 o'clock Eastern. So
Yep.
you can still find us over the next month or so.
Yep. And we're also going to be doing an extra late night session, kind of a pilot session for folks out on the West Coast. So if you get an email about, Taco After Dark on a Thursday night, that's going to be something different that we're doing for people out on the West Coast. But it's another option. You want to stay up late? Hey, we're going to be there.
7:30 Pacific time.
7:30 Pacific time, specifically Pacific time. There you go.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody. Have a great rest of your St. Patty's Day and a fantastic tomorrow as well.
Enjoy.